And welcome in to another episode of the Megan and Mark Wrestling Show on the Tell Me More podcast. I'm your host, Mac Moore. We have Wade Christensen again. This is two in a row. Crazy stuff. We have once again Nate Stitt, a.k.a. Miss Amanda Love, and we will get started talking about what is our favorite time of the year. This is better than Christmas. This is WrestleMania season, and even better, we've already got to watch it now. We get to either talk about how much we loved it, or we get to rip it apart, which is another mainstay of being a wrestling fan. But right now, I'm just going to go out on a limb and assume that we all had a pretty damn good time with WrestleMania weekend, for better or worse. But we'll see if Wade over there has any hot takes. This is the second year in a row where they have had 2 nights of WrestleMania, although this was the first year having fans after we know what happened going into last year's WrestleMania as the pandemic started. So this was a big moment. We know this was something for Drew McIntyre, who got the belt last year with no fans. And I guess he told Brass he wanted to be the first person out there. And Mother Nature slowed him down a little bit. But Drew McIntyre, first match out there with a crowd back at WrestleMania. And it wasn't nearly the same, but this was the first real wrestling show we've seen, even with some of the other, build-ups. We've seen more and more fans in different situations, but this was the first one where maybe too many people, but I didn't keep count. Maybe they're fine. Maybe they did get in trouble for having too many. Watching this year, watching with them all back out there, did it feel like WrestleMania? And we'll start with our resident grump, Wade. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
We did it, man. We beat COVID, man. We beat COVID. USA, USA, USA. That's what that means, right? Like
I bought in. I was in. Yeah.
Like it was just full of everyone. Like I didn't see any. Like, I'm just like, that seems like a pretty packed house. So
Are we sure there wasn't cutouts? Like the cardboard? Because I feel like the next level up looked really still the whole time.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, which also goes against the whole plan, because if anything, you'd want to have the same number of people spread out into those seats. Putting cardboard cutouts, you're just forcing more people together. Now, you know what? Never mind. Looking too close into it, the fact that this even happened, the only thing I think that was extra concerning is there was one social media post where a guy says tested positive for COVID. I don't care. And he's out. I assume that's just a troll, but also I know wrestling and wrestling fans, so I'm a little concerned. But we got through what was it was a mad dash. We're not going to talk about NXT Stand and Deliver at first, because Wade did not get a chance to watch that. But a lot of wrestling, 4 nights between the WWE programming. Also a big week as NXT started on Tuesdays for the first time. We'll get to the end of the show and talk a little bit about AEW getting a 1.2 rating. And I know that's all over. It seemed like more wrestling fans were talking about that than the releases. We'll get around to that. I mostly am just sad about Samoa Joe, but otherwise, it seemed like there was a contingent of wrestling Twitter that wanted to treat it like last year's, where you're right in the start of a pandemic, and they're like, "We're gonna have to cut our losses. We can't pay for this," and then they have their record-breaking revenue year, profit year. And that, just seemed ridiculous. I think this year that's less the issue than just, okay, who did they get rid of? Why? And, we'll get talking about that. But I mostly want to talk about the wrestling, because I think it was great. And we're, I skipped over letting Nate jump in to just say how much Nate enjoyed it, but I know it's very top heavy for Nate. The women's matches. And in this case, the one that, everybody's talking about, Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks. First time that women are headlining as an actual singles match. I know we had the triple threat 3 years ago. Also, first WrestleMania main event that is 2 African-American women, 2 black women. It's 2 black wrestlers, right?
I think it's 2 black, men or women.
So there was a lot of history made, and I know we do this on the show all the time. We poo-poo history way too often if it's just not good. In this case, I believe, in my opinion, that match more than delivered. Definitely delivered over the program they actually ran leading up into it. I loved it. Nate, you would pick that as your top match. Actually, you picked both of the women's. Take me through how you felt about those women championship matches. I assume we're going to start with Bianca and Sasha here.
Yeah, I definitely happy to start with that one because out of the two, that one was more my favorite. Because I have positives and negatives with the other one, but I just felt like you said, without the story build that they had, once the match started, it was up tempo. It showed both their strengths and literally Bianca's strength, walking upstairs with a person over your head. Like, I don't care how tiny they are, that's still such an imbalance. And you don't even see like Braun Strowman doing that, like the strongest guy they got. Like, it was impressive. There was some good reversals. Sasha did she actually break her neck stuff, which still scary, but I want to see the rest of the pictures of the welt because that's not. I ended up having to watch that match the next day at my boyfriend's kickball game with headphones in, and I'm pretty sure I squealed when that snap hit, and I was just like, "Oh my god!" Like kendo sticks aren't that loud, and then the welt that literally broke kayfabe, and Sasha pointed at it when they took the camera to it as she was trying to get him to look at it because that thing was nasty. It was aggressive, and then her family jumping, like damn near jumping over it had so much emotion when there was no emotion going into it. I thought it was a superb match and then a superb way to end that night. I can't wait for them to screw it up on Friday.
Of course. Yeah, I think in terms of the emotion, like part of it was they did what I pretty much said they would do. They cut out everything that they did leading up to it because the story told itself. And when they did the promo package, it is just the bare minimum, the best of each one's promo and building up that thing that was already there. And they do that way too often. You wonder what this could be. I mean, if we're talking about like the pantheon of great women's matches in WWE, that one is probably right there with the Sasha Bayley match that a lot of the smart fans always point to. And that one, if you're looking from the perspective of that history we're talking about two Black women who are headlining WrestleMania. That makes it more emotional than that first match. But in terms of the wrestling kayfabe, like this doesn't approach it. And you have to wonder what would happen if that wasn't just, well, we're going to fall back on it. If they had actually built to that match in a similar way that they built up to Sasha and Bayley's friendship, them facing off, would that have just made it that much better? Because honestly, it was good enough for me that, that is my list. I did not put the other women's match as my top match. It's the Roman match. It's the triple threat. I think it might be the best triple threat. There's a handful of really, really good ones, but I don't know how many of those, when I look back on them, I like more the work rate versus like the story. Unless we're counting Seth Rollins cashing in Money in the Bank, I don't think that counts as a triple threat match as it started as a singles and he's just cashing in. I think this one's it. I think this is the only one that the work rate was perfect and the story coming in was good enough for me to just be super amped up about it, about the outcome, about how good it was that it upset Ethan with the fact that technically Edge had pinned Daniel Bryan first, but the ref didn't see it that way. Right. I think there was so much emotion built into this that for me is I'm probably going to go Bianca as number one, but those are the top two. And then everything else is like a tier below. And there were a lot of good matches. Like I was surprised with how much I felt the build was lackluster for all of WrestleMania for it to be this good over 2 nights. And they were like, normally they fail to give us that NXT, like give each match like 15, 20 minutes. And I assume if I can look at a wiki card, I look at it on there and see that all the matches were 10 minutes. I'd assume the pay-per-view sucked because I know what 10-minute Vince matches look like. This one was good. There were a handful of dull spots, mostly on night 2, but otherwise I felt like it was good all the way through. And so there's a lot of matches that I'm saying are not in the same stratosphere as those two, but a lot of damn good matches. I'm not trying to take away from those. That's to say how good those two main events were. And that's crazy to me because there's a lot of years WrestleMania's main event is not the best match at WrestleMania. This one had 2 nights, and both nights they picked the right match and had the right performances for those to be the final moment that you remember from those nights. And perfect for characters going forward. These aren't Undertaker, HBK type moments where it's, an old guy that, I don't know how long he's going to wrestle. This is the future of the company, and they did that all up and down the card. A lot of people who can be the future stars. We talk about WWE not building stars. I still think that's fair criticism. This is a good moment to say maybe they can change that, and maybe that is because of something like we saw with AEW on Tuesday where they hit a 1.2, and now they got to think, how do we beat this other program? We can't just call it in. Like, we have to build new stars, and WrestleMania weekend this year was a good freaking start.
I mean, I can't help but throw it out there. This is probably the best women's match at WrestleMania. The triple threats, the very first one with the Charlotte and Becky and Sasha was good, but kind of the ending sucked because Rick got involved. And then the one last year with Ronda, or it was 2 years ago with Ronda? 2 years ago. It was all right, but the ending was botched. Even beyond that, I still think without those crappy endings, this one just story-wise for the night of did what it had to do. You could, I don't know, it would take a minute to well, how does it compare if you just go match ever? I don't know if you could really put it in there in a top 10, but it was good. It made the night end right. And that's what you want the main event to do.
So. Yeah. I think in the future, we'd have to look back on it, and it could probably start to elevate up the list based on what do Sasha and, more importantly, what does Bianca Belair do from here? Because if she continues on the trajectory that I think she's on, that clearly a lot of people in the business think she's on, those are the type of matches that, when you look back, it is about work rate. And those are the things where I think just the emotion she puts into it can make a lot of matches work that otherwise, like this one, didn't have a great build. She has that, and that could just be that first time getting WrestleMania, the first time being in that championship match. But she's so charismatic, and she's somebody who, if she can deliver it in the ring as well, she can do so much more. And that will be one of those matches when we look back, I think it can hold up. I think it's not just an in the moment, man, that was a great match. And so it'll be interesting to see how that match ages as we go forward. But I do want to give a second for Wade. Missed that match. Did you? So you watched?
I got text messages about that match.
That's how good it was.
Wow.
Probably the whip, right? Was it the whip?
Multiple texts about the whip. Multiple texts about the whip. Yeah.
So between those two spots, that's the other thing. It's work rate's one thing, but you need those WrestleMania moments, and part of it's the emotion from Bianca, but that hair whip is a moment, and it's one that can be replicated. It's one that she also didn't do for a while. She hasn't done that since back in NXT. So there was this build if we hadn't seen it, and then she busted it out at the perfect time.
Sasha was pulling it all night. It was built for it. It was so good.
So the way they did that storytelling was great. But also, I think the other moment that, Nate talked about it earlier, doing the gorilla press, having Sasha above her head and walking her all the way up the ramp or up the stairs, and throwing her back in the ring. That's good, because we all know that moment too. We know Sasha trying to kill herself with the suicide dives. And even when you do it, you have the right competitors, that is a risk that if it doesn't pay off, it's fine. It just is a suicide dive. But to pull it off, for Bianca to catch her, to get her up above her head, and to finish that off, just a huge moment. Those are the types of things that can build you up as a star. And I think she was already on that path. I'm excited to see what she does. And then I know that on NXT, they had the big moment of Bianca, Rhea Ripley, and the new NXT Women's Champion, Raquel Gonzalez. They all came in at the same time. There's a picture of them from 2018, and they all got to stand in the ring, sort of recreate the photo, but all three of them holding up the belt and have that, nice moment. Should be interesting to see how that goes, because that we've talked about it before. Yeah, you've had the big four, the four horsewomen of NXT, and we're kind of bored with most of them. Even Becky, like for match wise, like what kind of matches can you set up that we haven't already seen? Well, you need an influx of talent, and we know that the rest of the roster, as much as women's wrestling's improved in the last couple of years in WWE, there's a lot of women who just can't work a 20-minute match with those four horsewomen in NXT and make it important. Well, now we have a whole new crop that they are bringing up from NXT right now. And so there will be a lot to slide in and out of the title picture. And hopefully that will create some big money matches going forward. So I'm excited for that. In terms of the men's match, I gave my little recommendation. I know Wade might have been even more excited than I was about Roman versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan. Wade, take me through watching that. Take me through watching a match where they had the audacity to let heel Roman go through this ridiculous match, get help from Jey Uso, and he pins both of the most beloved wrestlers of the Smart Kingdom. Tell me how you felt in that moment, Wade.
I have to say, for SummerSlam, this was a really good WrestleMania. Like, it was just, the heels just came to win, man. Like, it's so fucked up. Like, the first WrestleMania, like the first thing in a year where they had fans, and Vince McMahon said, "Fuck you!" Like, we want your booze. Like, it was, your heroes came to die, and it was great. There was a couple things that made me rageful, but I think it was just because they were just there to, like, like, it almost seemed like they wanted you to talk about. Sorry, fuck. Sprite, boy, that Sprite.
We beat COVID.
Yeah, we beat COVID. Like, it almost seemed like they wanted to trend on Twitter more than they wanted it to do anything for the fans. Like, they just wanted people to talk about, hey, guess what? Edge came back after 9 years, and he's gonna fucking do this, and he's gonna be our hero. They're like, no, Daniel Bryan's coming back. He's gonna be on top. He's gonna be our hero. And no, none of that's happened. Roman's gonna stay on top. The guy you've been booing, you're gonna keep booing because he's the fucking man. I thought, like just to have Jey Uso just come out there and just kick everybody the whole time is such a good heel move. And like, it's such an opposite of a Roman thing. It's such an opposite of a make Roman look strong thing. And it was the heel move. I think it was the move. Because if you put the belt on Bryan or you put the belt on Edge, like where do you go from there? Like what's, like, who's going to now has to topple Edge, or who gets to topple Daniel Bryan again that no one's going to give a shit about again? So I enjoyed it. It was great. Fuck his stupid wood title. Fuck the rated R title. Roman Army.
So yeah, I guess we can look forward. Maybe Roman will get a belt, and hopefully it's just better than the belts for Edge and Daniel Bryan. But I think at this point, Roman just wants to show he's the best. And I did enjoy the Jey getting involved, but it's not just that it didn't make him look strong, but it made him look like the mafioso leader that he is, like the tribal chief. Like, he's still kicking ass. Like, he didn't like wimpily win the match. He dominated the match. He also, I like that it's smart. It wasn't like Jey Uso just got involved late. They did it from the get-go, like, as soon as it's possible. Like, why is Jey standing on the outside looking like an idiot? They know the rules to the match. Get him involved from the start. Yeah. I thought that was fun. And yeah, I think the moment of both of the heroes being taken down, it was great. And I guess that's the Backlash match. Is going to be Edge and Daniel Bryan fighting over who gets a shot at Roman.
The balls to do it. Just the balls. like just to say, no, neither one of them's winning. Like, nope, it's WrestleMania and neither one of them's winning. Like, I just can't believe the balls of it.
It's also great because I think if it was Roman versus Edge, fans would have just known Roman's winning. If it's Roman versus Daniel Bryan, they know that Roman's winning. If it's a triple threat, they're sitting there thinking, Daniel Bryan got injected in so that Edge can get the belt, give you your WrestleMania moment, but Roman doesn't look bad. And instead, they both get pinned, which I think it's been a while since I've enjoyed a Vince McMahon fuck you booking decision, because I don't know if I'm getting more smarky or if Vince has just gotten lazy, but whatever it is, like, there is a level of fan that always hates what Vince does. Well, but here's the thing, like, Vince was doing it for a while, and there were moments that fans would be upset, and I laughed hysterically, because at least it was Vince doing it in a fun, well thought out way, at least for pissing off the fans. I don't know if that was Vince's intent, but if it was, he did a damn good job. Felt like he's gotten bad at that for a while. Like, it's been like a year and a half at least. Maybe it's just the pandemic, but there just weren't those moments. And yeah, he brought it back. First time we get the fans there, it's like that's the perfect troll finish. And I don't know how much Vince did it on purpose, but it was damn
Stacked
good.
Him. Fucking stacked them, bro.
I will say I disagree a little bit of what you were saying, because I'm not gonna give credit to Vince or anybody, but you said, like, if it would have been a one-on-one with either of them, that Roman was always going to win. I think actually, if it would have been a one-on-one with either one of them, they would have given it to the good guy. They literally had to.
I think Edge probably would have won. Yeah.
You would think one-on-one?
I think Edge would have won.
I don't think
they would have never made him like somewhat heel. That's a good point. But
no, Roman would have been the heel. Edge would have still been the good guy. Edge, back from the neck injury, winning Royal Rumble. Yeah. Fans.
And I think Roman wins. I think Roman's at this point where he can't lose, because he's not losing until he faces The Rock at whatever WrestleMania it's allowed. Is it LA next year, or how far are they away?
They want, or I mean, like, I think they should want Hollywood, but I think this was actually the best scenario, because it did actually get you in front of fans and figure out who's booing what and who's cheering what, because we've done an entire year where they piped in sound, and at least this way they made the guy you hated, or they wanted you to hate, to actually hate him, and like you heard people going, actually, we don't like this. So they made us believe what they wanted us to believe for the first time. Because, like, I would say in the other one that opened the show, the Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre one, I don't necessarily hate Bobby Lashley. He's been great. I mean, he's been the heel, but in the end of that match, I wasn't bothered. Drew looked stupid, but in the triple threat, Roman looked smart, like you said, having Jey Uso from the beginning be ready to get involved, made him look smart, made him look heelish, and made him win and stack him.
Yeah, because they didn't have anybody, because no one fucking can stand Daniel Bryan, and Edge's only friend ran off to the only company he can be a star in. So they got nobody. Smart move by Roman. Smart move.
I wanted Jimmy to come back too.
Yeah, that would have been sweet.
I would say, except for the story that they told, I don't think there's a way Daniel Bryan gets booed at WrestleMania. I think the booing is entirely based on him getting in Edge's way, you know? So I do want to make that clear when Wade's talking about it. Like, fans don't care. Wade doesn't care about Daniel Bryan. The majority of wrestling fans, or at least most of the smart fans and enough of the casual audience, they enjoy the story of Daniel Bryan. It's just, in this case, he was a heel, and it was harder to tell because they did try to make Edge turn, and not fast enough, or it was just very clear that Edge was always the guy that was going to be rooted for. So if anything, the nostalgia of becoming the rated R superstar was only going to get him more cheers, and that's what we saw play out in front of the crowd. I'm just happy to see Roman get to actually respond to fans, because they've been booing him for 5 years. But now he gets to say, basically, fuck you. And I enjoyed every bit of it. Like, he's been ready for that for so long, and he did an amazing job of that match, just telling the fans to piss off.
Wade, you mentioned the wood belt and the rated R belt. They should make Roman like a tribal designed.
Yes.
belt. Wouldn't that be dope though? Get
gonna
rid,
be
first of all,
like-
get rid of the stupid W belts. They look
Yeah.
like trash. But like, yeah, one that had like tribal tattoo designs and
It's going to be the lay color, and
Yeah,
it's just going to look like a dumb version of the Universal
oh, that's
title.
a good point. Yeah, it's probably gonna be
So-
covered in flowers.
More flowers.
It'll be worse than the butterfly belt.
So, we'll see what
Get the
happens,
butterfly
but
belt.
I don't have a lot of faith.
That's true.
Yeah, I think with that match, like, I don't know if I needed the fans to tell me what was going on. I already knew. I guess the only thing was they needed this story to make sure there wasn't a version where Roman was getting cheered as like an awesome heel. So theoretically, this could have played out differently where if you put, we talked about the possibilities, Rock, Brock, we were going down the list. Like Edge and Daniel Bryan are the perfect ones to ensure that Roman is going to get booed and not have what we know will be a problem. If Roman is this heel getting cheered, Vince will turn him face like in 6 months and ruin everything, So this was good to have that match on the biggest stage where, there aren't cheeky fans cheering for this asshole Roman Reigns. You're getting that reaction. Roman is the certified number one heel. There are actual good guys left, even if Edge's friend had to run off to AEW and whatever else Wade rattled off earlier. But that was good to see him. And I feel like the Bobby Lashley thing, I think they put it on the wrong night. I think that having Bobby Lashley on the same night where it was basically this Black history, like a lot of the fans that were going there to watch Bianca and Sasha face off in that, championship match. There were a lot of fans who, they're like, no, we love Bobby Lashley. Like even when he's a heel, we don't care. Like Bobby Lashley's awesome. And so that was the exact wrong night as you're just getting cheers that are, about the fact that they love Bobby regardless of his character, and mistake. Like if you were trying to tell a story where Drew McIntyre is supposed to get sympathy, it's like he's out there crying next to the steps and Bobby's you could hear cheers happening for Bobby. It wasn't the whole audience, but it was enough that it wasn't as clear cut as I think they were thinking with Drew getting his first title match in front of a crowd after getting to miss it last year. That's not the match they were expecting for the guy who's been the face the last calendar year, which I think is a good thing in the end. I think if that makes Vince push Drew McIntyre back into a heel role, like I love Drew and he still put on great matches, but his character is just not as good as a face. I need him back to be the Scottish psychopath. If you're going to do stupid things like get him involved with Sheamus, after seeing Sheamus knock Matt Riddle's head off, I want to see Drew McIntyre and Sheamus work together to be the Scottish psychopath and the Irish psychopath and have them just run roughshod over the WWE. Like that should be the next step for those two, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
Man after my heart.
Well, my last fantasy booking, which was have Ricochet and Keith Lee join freaking Bobby Lashley. Why are you shaking your head? You know what we got? We got T-Bar, and I don't even know the other guy's name. That's what we got.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
Flapjack? God damn it.
That's
even a worse name than I thought. They came out
One of them was
and
Flapjack.
they didn't make it clear, but MVP was standing at the top of the ramp, so that helped from the Retribution rejects.
They got Retribution.
Does that mean Baron Corbin is also with them?
According to their Twitters, he is not a part of them when he helped them that one night. But and I hope not.
The main thing is
fucking weak, man.
Wade, you got to admit, even where you did not care for Keith Lee, putting Keith Lee and Ricochet with Bobby Lashley is so much better than getting the Retribution
rejects. Fucking rejects. Like, at least take the masks off them and make them something that doesn't suck. Like,
I don't send Dijakovic.
They were still in masks.
Bad masks.
Bad Dijakovic, which is the other half of Keith Lee. It's like those two could have a money match in WWE. I wanted Keith Lee to be added to this table, and they went and got Dijakovic at his lowest, as he's still T-Bar.
500-pound Spanish flies out of those two. God damn.
So yeah, I watched stuff like that, and it doesn't make me think that they're going to make the right moves for some of these guys. I saw that it was like, people were ragging on Raw, but a lot of it was Charlotte Flair came back, and now like she's back into the title picture, and you just have those smart fans who are just going to cry a lot for no good reason. So I don't even know if Raw was good or bad. I just know that the first major storyline things that they pushed forward don't look like they're going in the right direction. That's the best review I can give of Raw after Mania.
They're back to no fans again.
Yeah.
So they're back to not giving a shit.
Yeah. And there was no Charlotte was the biggest name that returned. Bray Wyatt showed up, and the Viking Warriors or Raiders or what, Viking Machine, whatever they're called.
Viking War Raiders Machine Experience Extravaganza. Sorry, you weren't on our previous podcast when we detailed the extensive name of Ivar.
Was there a hyphen in there or something?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know who they are anymore. Like they can be. They haven't been in WWE.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it could be whatever.
Right, that's fair. I think a lot of the return, like being upset, is just because Becky Lynch didn't show up, and Becky Lynch, had on Instagram or Twitter, or whatever it was, where it says night one as the letters, like that. That's on fans. If by the end of WrestleMania weekend and by the end of Raw, if they're sad, and then Becky shows up on SmackDown on Friday to challenge the champions that they actually want to watch Becky face, maybe don't be stupid about it and complain. But wrestling fans are wrestling fans. They do what they do. I still just don't know what they're gonna do with the weekly shows. I don't trust them to put on good weekly shows. And if anything, the only reason I have any sort of optimism is because of that AEW rating. Like, you pull NXT off of Wednesdays and you see that, yes, the number is not up near where Raw and SmackDown is. But, 1.2 versus Raw at its lowest was like 1.5, I think. Like, that's striking distance, And you're on the build-up. You have these rivalries that are actually clicking and working there. I don't know how much Mike Tyson brings into it, but it works. And then I don't know how much I guess we're going to throw this in the middle before we talk about some other matches. Chris Jericho going on Stone Cold podcast. I had listened to a long thing from Bubba Ray Dudley on Busted Open Radio where he just said there was no way in hell Vince would allow Chris Jericho to talk about AEW.
Dumb.
And at most, it would be a couple minutes. And in this case, I don't know how long it was, but it opened the show. Yeah, it opened the show. Chris did not go overboard in terms of just like, well, I'm on WWE Network planting my flag. But he got to give it a decent enough sell job of why he thought it was important, did it within the flow of the show, so it would be less likely to get cut out by Vince or by whoever's running like the editing process. And yeah, I have to assume that probably had more to do with the rating than Mike Tyson showing up, because he was there the week before and it didn't get them a fairly, I think they beat NXT, but it wasn't a substantial margin. This week of no competition, Chris Jericho as a lead-in from being on WWE or in Peacock in this case, and having a good rivalry between the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle, like having that ramp up. That seems like a competition that might light a fire underneath WWE. That is the only optimism I have for them using what was, once again, great WrestleMania weekend. Great at building new stars. I'm scared for those new stars that they might get ruined just as Vince decides, holy shit, we have to do something because AEW is right on our tail.
He's going to bring back Hulk Hogan again.
We finally got Hulk Hogan to get booed. That was great. That took a while. Like,
he had to dress up like a pirate.
He got booed before that, but that was the loudest. Yes. So that's the thing for me. Like I've said for a while, no need for Hulk Hogan. I think if you're going to pay him to come in to Crown Jewel, and those fans are going to cheer him, go for it. But he hasn't been getting the cheers. He just hasn't been getting the boos. This one was the boos. It finally came out, and I don't know if that's going to change Vince's plans at all. At the very least, stop having Hulk Hogan come out as Hulk Hogan. Like, make him like at least be like the rest of the wrestlers where he has to be himself. And I get it. There is no other Hulk Hogan. That's shallow human being that you see in front of you. There's nothing there. But at least make it do that and not do his bullshit speeches. Like, that's done. That's done. When Titus
you gotta bring back Hollywood, brother.
I enjoy everything. I enjoy everything Titus does for his philanthropy work. But in terms of him getting a cheer, the fact that he got cheered over Hulk Hogan, it was both booing of Hulk Hogan and then a cheer for Titus. Like, that should be the final sign. That should be enough for Vince to know not to run this back anymore. But I doubt that's the last we're going to see of Hulk Hogan.
I want to know how like uncomfortable Titus was the whole time. Be like, I know what you said.
Like, he's slowly pulling the sword out of the sheath.
Yeah, just like, What if I start dating your daughter?
After the video, like they showed of Titus at the Hall of Fame, like just looking at him, I was just amazed at how they have just somehow managed to do nothing with a monster like him. And then and then I saw this weekend why, because it just like there's just nothing like it's just like no charisma. But make him a monster, make him smash people, make him a bad guy. And he could have been awesome. Like he's just such a I don't know. You would stare at that guy if he walked by you. Like you would know he was somebody just by the size of him, the way he carries himself. Like that is a monster of a man. And just amazed they've somehow managed to do nothing with him. Like he hasn't even had like an Intercontinental or U.S. title. Like not even any sort of singles run ever had. Like what's his finisher?
Oh, he's such
gonna
a
be some
company
pun
man,
about
too.
Titus. I don't know.
Yeah, no. All we
Like,
know about him is he grabbed McMahon one time and then he almost took his head off at a Royal Rumble. That's all. That's like what he'll like be known for. It sucks.
Yeah,
started to bum everyone out.
Which is weird because they decided to build up two monsters and did the correct formula for that over WrestleMania. And we'll talk about one that Wade put on his top list of matches. First one, AJ Styles with Omos going up against the New Day. And this one, I would not put on a top matches list, but in terms of execution, in terms of a moment, in terms of building up this character that way, they did exactly what they needed to do. They I don't think otherwise. And, seeing what wasn't Omos originally like the ninja that was running around in those terrible segments they were doing with the Viking Raiders extravaganza experience.
No, that was another 8-foot tall black ninja.
Really?
Yep.
I think it was him.
Shaq.
Prove it.
I think it was Shaq.
Well, so in this case, you never let him go into a match. You waited out, and yeah, by the time they got him in that ring, yeah, I want to see what he could do. And honestly, he didn't even do all that much, but he didn't mess up. He looked strong, and he did it against New Day. You got some Hall of Famers there that he's taken out, and then you get AJ Styles who didn't work the way he normally works. He's trying to be Mr. WrestleMania. He's trying to steal the title from HBK, and he didn't do any work rate in that match. He just was there to help Omos look even better, and he gets one move because we needed that move. We needed the phenomenal forearm jumping off of Omos' shoulders. They played that match perfectly. That's the type of WrestleMania moment where it doesn't need a high work rate, but you told the right story. You built a character up. So that's my interpretation, but Wade put it on his top matches. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was just this awesome work rate and I missed it. Wade, take me through how you felt about that match.
As we all know, WWE isn't about the work rate. So it is a top match. It's not Savage Steamboat, but it's something, and it's something people are going to remember because like it was the unveiling of a fucking giant. Like that's always memorable. Big Show coming through the ring. Everyone remembers that. Khali showing up, taking out The Undertaker. Everybody remembers that. And this guy's showing up and just taking out the New Day almost by himself, just after like AJ Styles gets his ass whipped for 75% of the match. finally tag in the dude that we've all been waiting to see in action for months now, and then just have him just dominate. Have him work like a giant. Like work how they should have been working the Big Show his entire career. He should have been working like a giant. He should have been dominant. He should be an attraction. I don't want to see this dude be Baby New Year at any point ever. Like keep being this monster. Like you're a monster. Be a monster. And sticking him with someone like weird, skinny beard AJ Styles. I just like he's a bad guy, so the mustache is skinny. And besides that, pretty much still AJ Styles. Yeah, and to have New Day just take it. Like it was good. It was great. It's going to be remembered forever. I hope we see more from Omos. And then I hope he takes on fucking Apollo Cruz's big guy, and we have a big guy versus big guy match. It's gonna be good.
Solid. Nate, anything to add?
I do, absolutely want to give credit to the New Day. Like they had to take it, and like it had to hurt somewhat because he's that tall. Like when you're dropping an extra foot compared to everybody,
that's a good finisher.
Yeah. But I think I agree. I like the direction it can go because like I compare Braun Strowman with Big Show as well, where they just like made him huge and then pushed him, and then when he got to the top, then he just started to lose, and then when nobody gave a shit.
Brain Strowman?
Yeah, the smart one. But to have him where he can have this like crazy, I don't know what they're going to do to at least 6 month to a year-long tag team. AJ's going to be happy because he ain't going to do shit. He's going to make him look better with talking and everything. But then eventually, if they actually want to put him in a title picture, just have him win it. But I think, I mean, you brought it up multiple times, Mac. Like, this is a character building and a star making opportunity. The next thing is putting them up against some people who can sell it right.
He's the new Diesel, man.
Yeah, and I guess AJ Styles is a fine HBK.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
sure. I would say don't put the belt on him. I would say the best case scenario is get to a moment where you try to make it where Omos could win the belt, but end up being like a triple threat match where AJ Styles is involved, or whatever it needs to be, where AJ tries to take the belt for himself. They both lose, and now Omos is now pissed off at AJ Styles. So that's the big money matches when the Frankenstein's monster turns on Frankenstein and rips him, to shreds.
And that would be an amazing
money match.
Yeah, AJ versus Omos is going to be the best match of his career.
So I think that what they did was great. We'll see where they go from here. The other one that I did bring up, on the other side, where you have Big E and Apollo Crews, although the Nigerian drum fight did not incorporate any of the drums that were surrounding the ring. They just went kendo sticks.
Strange.
They did have that moment of bringing out a heater for Apollo Crews. You bring in what I guess the announcers don't know who he is, but on he was Bubba Tunda in the Greatest Royal Rumble, and he was Dabba Kato on Raw Underground, which I 100% did not watch a single moment of Raw Underground. Did the announcers from Raw announce Raw Underground, or was there just no talking during that time?
Shane McMahon did.
He just announced it himself, so there's no announcers talking.
Yeah, he was just like, oh look, he's pushing it, oh it's over. Like he just mumbled through the entire thing.
So I do want to call out all
like he could talk MMA.
I do want to call out all the smart fans for getting too excited and complaining about the announcers, because them not knowing who this was actually makes perfect sense. That was Raw Underground. That wasn't Raw, so they didn't see Dabba Kato wrestle, and that's why they're completely confused. Yeah, they're completely confused at who this person is that came out. And maybe they remember from the Greatest Royal Rumble, but half of the fans didn't remember that he was also Bubba Tunda. I only remember because when we talked about it, we were like, that's a huge guy. I want to see what he does next. And he disappeared for 3 years. So, in terms of stories, you're going to do this Nigerian, heritage gimmick with Apollo Crews. They went and got a guy who is half Nigerian and is a giant. Actually. It should be interesting to see how that plays out and whether that can help Apollo Crews. And if, let's see what Bubba Tonda has learned over the last 3 years, if he's ready to go, because he looks intimidating. That's all I care about. So,
yeah, he looks like he chokeslammed somebody.
Hopefully he does. I think though the one first shitty part is Omos had AJ Styles as his mentor, and he's got Apollo Crews. And we'll see what happens there. But I do actually appreciate the non-cultural appropriation and actually getting somebody from Nigeria.
I bet they didn't know it when they made the decision.
They probably didn't know. And they were like, "Are you sure you're not Japanese from Samoa?" Okay,
get out there, Bubba Hotep.
Yeah.
So, but I want to see where Big E goes, because Big E has been on this trajectory, and it does feel like I was ready for him to not have the IC title if it meant bigger things, but they also have a 3-way picture at the main event, so get Big E there, but I just don't know how yet.
Big E Roman? What?
It's gonna take a little while. Maybe that's something you try for SummerSlam, depending on how things go. But also, I think adding the big guy in, that's also another thing for Big E to do. It's like right now he just got taken down, so now he's angry and he wants to go through both Dabo Kato or Bubba Tonda or Bubba Hotep or whatever name we're going to put on this guy. And he also wants to take down Apollo Crews. / I can't even come up with a Coming to America reference. So I'll just skip it. But trying to go after these two characters. Big E made me care about an Apollo Crews match when it was just kind of like, don't know where they're going with this. Him cutting promos on this giant guy, attacking him and making him, lose that match against Apollo Crews at WrestleMania. I assume Big E can do some creative stuff with that. It was 2 moments where 2 big guys got introduced. They got wins over the New Day. I don't know why big rookies love to attack the New Day, but maybe that's the best way to immediately get them over. In terms of other matches, Wade, did you put Sheamus Riddle as one of your top 2?
Yes, I did.
For one of the nights.
Yes, I
did. I want to go to that one because I think we all know the direction of Riddle and his character, and we know Sheamus's just never going anywhere kind of career trajectory in WWE. Just this, he started. I'm talking recent, 4 years of never doing anything again after being in the jump shot to the title picture. So these two, I looked at this. I didn't look at this as something. I thought maybe there could be a good match out of it, but I haven't seen Sheamus take advantage of I got another guy who has work rate. We don't have a story. Let's just put on a good match. He usually gives us a couple good moments of nearly knocking somebody's teeth out, but never really this good work rate. That was a good match. And, to end it on that great moment of the moonsault and the knee, which is actually, it's funny, you go back and look, and that might be the safest looking move Sheamus did in the entire match, even though it looked so brutal on first viewing. But that sold it for me. That got me excited for, what both of these two can do going forward. I still think I only care about Riddle if you can build up a moment where I believe he's reasonably mad after losing, but now that he's just losing a bunch, I don't think that moment will mean anything. So I still don't really care about Riddle. I now care about Sheamus again. That's not just from the story of adding him with Drew McIntyre. I could see Sheamus go on a run right now as long as, let's see if he'll do this. What was stopping him from doing it before? Because you guys could say I'm wrong. I don't feel like Sheamus had been doing that. I don't think he'd been taking advantage of moments where he was with good work rate wrestlers. And so he gave Vince matches years and years and years. It didn't help Vince accomplish what he wanted Sheamus to accomplish. Didn't help Sheamus accomplish what he wanted to. It didn't make fans care about Sheamus. So he's been treading water, and now he has this match. Is this something that he could do going forward with people other than Matt Riddle?
Yeah, he can be Sheamus forever.
No, but put in great matches like this, because what's the last great Sheamus match?
I think most of his
Or do you
matches
need Daniel
are just
Bryan?
brawls. Like
Go
I don't
ahead.
think he's ever going to be known for like having like a good match. He's just going to be known for just being a brawler, which is fine. It's why I like him. It's why
But
he's
you
one of
can
my favorite
brawl in
guys.
good matches, like this
Yeah.
match. I think this was a good match, and he didn't get rid of his style. He
Mhm.
just put it into storytelling, even in a non-story. Like this didn't have anything going in, but in the ring, they told a story through a match, which I don't feel like he's done before, and I don't have any reason. Matt Riddle's a pretty good worker, but he doesn't have like that AJ Styles reputation of being able to work with a broomstick. So the fact that these two got together and they found a way to put together a good WrestleMania match, and I don't know the exact time. I feel like they got a little bit longer than everybody. 10 minutes. It was 10:50. They got just under 11 minutes, and they put on a really good match. That is something that I don't think Sheamus is not capable of working at that level.
Yeah.
I think he hasn't done it in WWE, particularly over the last 4 years, because Vince has asked a very specific thing of him.
I think he's also been like working through like neck injuries and stuff like that, because he was one of the people listed like with neck injuries, like right when like everyone was going out with injuries, and then you just saw him still in tag matches, just never tagging in at all during his matches with Cesaro. And like I completely blame the fans, because right when Sheamus was getting stale and he comes back and reinvents himself, they just chant, "You look stupid" at him. And how the fuck do you come back from that? Especially like when you rock that same look for the next 3-4 years.
Yeah, how do you come back from that? Change the look.
Like you just keep the mohawk. Well, and then just to come back as like what you did before.
And then he just puts a beret over it. He just puts this like
now
newspaper boy hat on.
Muscle newsy.
Which is like, I swear to God, that was like their Peaky Blinders attempt, but nobody actually watched the show or figured out what those guys wear. Man,
no, I don't know what a Peaky or a blinder is.
There's a show on Netflix where they're just like English mob. You can't understand a word they're saying, but it's like, a period piece basically. So English old school. Mob. Well, yeah, they're like mobsters that are running around just beating the shit out of each other.
Sounds terrible.
Vince watched Netflix. That's what happened.
The point is, people like the show, and it has an aesthetic that Sheamus could benefit from if he took it. And instead, they did like the generic shit version of trying to make it happen. Yeah. They did the Apollo Crews Nigerian outfit of that, and that's the newspaper boy hat. That's the weird, just he's got the suspenders and whatever else, and that's
just
it's like
constant taped fists.
Yeah, it's like maybe Sheamus did. Maybe Sheamus brought him the idea, and that's one of those moments where it's like what they give back to him is like, well, I guess it's kind of what I said. Sure, fine. And Sheamus goes out like he does what Vince says, and that's probably been the worst part of his career. That's been the thing that's never allowed it to fix, because at least if he got bitter about it, he'd get a couple opportunities to change. And instead, he's delivered what Vince has wanted for so long. And I don't know what this match does. I don't know if that gives him a chance to ask Vince to let him do a little bit more. Because, back in the day, Sheamus is probably one of the best indie stars who never got the indie fanboy treatment. He joined WWE at the exact time with also getting hot shot into the main event, facing off with John Cena.
Wade Barrett. Didn't he come up with Wade Barrett?
Yeah, Sheamus put in his dues, but it was at the exact wrong time to get that like internet credit for it. So with just the way his career went, he never got that rub. He never got that recognition from fans that would make it anytime he got a cool push. There would be a section of the audience that would just want to see him succeed. He's never had that, even though he should have, based on the years he put in on the indie scene. And I think right now, if you let him go with a few indie guys, I know Sheamus can work. We just have not gotten to see him do much more than that brawler, which he's really good at it. It would be nice to see him put that into really good matches more often. He doesn't have to do it all the time, but the fact that this is the first one I can remember that there were good tag matches, but I don't remember the last time I've seen a singles match with Sheamus where it finished. I'm like, well, damn, that was up there. Like that was a high work rate match.
I think I don't know where it's going to go from here, but I would say the last several with Drew were really good. The ones on Raw, and
Nobody
I think
watched them.
I did, and they were good. They were fucking brutal, especially the it wasn't Falls Count Anywhere, but it was basically a street fight or whatever, and they like basically broke all of the Thunderdome. Was quite entertaining. Not that like Vince is going to appreciate it, but it does kind of seem like it got him there, that he has shown a work rate recently that I think he deserved the US title. And then after that, I think it's kind of exciting that maybe he could finally fit into that gatekeeper role. I don't want him to lose the US title necessarily, but I think you kind of alluded to, I mean, beating Riddle or like wrestling with Riddle, putting on a great match, like they ain't doing nothing with Ricochet, but like all these like have with these indie darlings, the ones that they go, that match doesn't work in WWE. Well, if you the brawler that fits in WWE, you can kind of create these like, okay, this is how you do it here. You can do your crazy flips and stuff and kick out of everything, but when I finally kick you in the face on a moonsault, you're down and move on. So I hope that's what it becomes. I hope like Ricochet is a good example as the very next one. I hope I give zero shits about Roderick Strong, but supposedly he quit NXT. If he goes up to the main roster, they could have at least a good match one night. Like bring all these little indie guys who they could do a 10-15 minute match. They do all their flips and they can do a good crossover of the indie and WWE style until Vince finally leaves, and then they can actually do indie style all the time. But it made it exciting. That finish might have been the best like finishing move finish of WrestleMania.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And it was he got it in there. It was like it was a good spot. It wasn't like, oh, they watched the replay and they missed by like 4 inches. No, he nailed it right, and absolutely a good reason to put this match on our list.
Yeah, that's
Does
fair.
anyone else feel that Matt Riddle's character is just like the dumb shit they wanted to stick RVD with, but like RVD never pissed off Goldberg, so he could still like say no to stuff?
Well, I mean, part of RVD saying no is he's not an active like part of the company that's always there. I think it is interesting to get to see Matt Riddle and RVD on the same screen, where you get to see RVD like, yeah, I'm the high guy, but also I'm not gonna be the jester. So
Yeah.
Screw you. Like it was great to get to see that. Like it happened within a promo. You got to watch RVD kind of look down on Matt Riddle, even though RVD is shorter than Matt Riddle. He's just looking at him like, if that's how you want to make money, man, go for it. But like, yeah, the Riddle thing, it really sucks because we didn't even get to see it in NXT. We didn't get to see the finish of that character. He gets brought up and becomes this awful character. And with what we're able to see in matches like this, it's like, well, maybe Matt Riddle impressed somebody. And then the next night, he's doing the worst version of the promo. Bobby Lashley smashes Riddle's face into the little scooter. And you're just like, well, sorry,
That's
Riddle.
over.
Toodles.
I wonder if Vince knows that he was an MMA fighter that like knocked people out. Because I think if he knew that, then there might be a little bit of a change. But I don't think he knows that he's like a legit could kick your ass in real life. He just doesn't know. He just thinks he's some indie wrestler dude that likes to get high.
So I wanted to hit definitely a few before Wade's phone officially dies. I do want to talk Rhea Ripley, Asuka. We had mentioned it earlier. This is one that while I put up fairly high in terms of, I think it was a good match. That was a weird one that it just felt abrupt for the finish. And I don't know. It's not that it just needed to be longer. Maybe part of it was because of the way it finished, and it was Asuka losing clean in the fashion that she did. moments. Like, I think maybe the specter of Becky Lynch ruined that, because it was like, oh yeah, that's ending clean because Becky Lynch is going to come out and confront her. Like, that probably added to the fact that it just kind of felt incomplete. Nothing bad. Everything that went on in the match. I mean, I got to watch two women's wrestlers who just know how to beat the hell out of each other. There were no botches. There wasn't really, or at least none that stood out to me as deal breakers. Just somehow by the time it was done, for a 13-minute match between these two, I thought I would have came away more happy with the results, and instead it was like, oh, something's missing. So I'll ask you, Nate, first, because you had that up as one of your top ones. Did you feel like there was something missing, or it made it up there high? Is it just nothing else competes with it?
No, I feel like as I get done talking, it's going to sound like I didn't like it, because I did, but I feel like I just have so many complaints of how good they are. I, of course, have enjoyed Asuka since her NXT days, and I feel like they could have kept her even stronger with that aura that she had in NXT of just like undefeatable, and then they let it go, and then pandemic happened, and she ended up being one of the most entertaining ladies on just Raw, but even all of them, while not speaking English at all. And then when it comes to the match, like Rhea Ripley is great, but I kind of felt like it's one-sided. And I think I just want to start it by saying I felt like it was a Triple H match, and Rhea was Triple H. It got slowed down weirdly, and whenever Triple H faces somebody smaller than him, he barely gives them any offense. Like he'll sell, but no, there's no offense. And then I switch it, and then it's back to me, and then I'm just gonna hold you down, and I'm gonna talk and tell you how much you suck. But because these two women are amazing at what they do, we were entertained. And then at the very end, it did seem just very rushed. I almost feel like it's for the one time it's WrestleMania and you didn't kick out of the finish. Like you could have made it shorter and then kicked out of at least one finish and then got one more chance to do it. So if anything, it left me hungry for more, but it was still good and kept up with any match especially that night, other than the one right after it.
All right, I'll give Wade a chance to jump in, see if he has a different opinion or if he wants to defend Triple H's honor, and then I'll jump in after that. Wade, how'd you feel about the match?
I don't know his opinion on Triple H. It's exciting.
Well, first of all, Triple H Booker T WrestleMania is
if anything, it was that, man. One finish and it's over.
I guess because I haven't seen enough Rhea Ripley matches to really know who she is. I know she's a person. I know what she looks like. That's it. I don't know anything else about her. I guess she's Australian. Little fact there for you, fellas. Yeah, because you know who she is. So to me, it felt like a good moment because it was like her debut. She just showed up like new sheriff in town, wins the title, and wins the title from Asuka, who seems to be that's the person you win titles from if you want to look strong and dominant. So to me, it felt whole. I wasn't expecting Becky Lynch to show up. I wasn't expecting anything else to happen. It felt like her moment. It wasn't as good as it was like Bianca Belair already had her moment. So I feel like it was like you already had that person finally wins the big belt moment. Kind of like when Bubba Hotep showed up, we already had the debut of this giant guy. It kind of takes away from something that we already had something similar happen. We just had this new person take over, someone that the last reigning NXT person, is Asuka or Sasha. They came up from NXT, they kind of took over, they became champions, and now the next generation of that, it was a passing of the torch moment. But we already had that same passing of the torch moment the night before. So I feel if anything that took away from it, but not for me. I thought it was great. Good for her. Good for everybody. I'm glad that women's matches are finally like feel like they just feel like matches. They don't feel like women's matches anymore. They just feel like matches, and that's exactly what they should feel like. Like don't wrestle like women, just wrestle like wrestlers. Like everyone's a wrestler, wrestle like a wrestler wrestles. It doesn't matter. And I feel like from all the stuff I'm hearing, that's a Vince move that he doesn't want the women doing certain moves and certain things that the women can't do. So like I feel like that's all their fault for stunting it. It's in hiring like lingerie models to be their wrestlers. So now that we actually have women that want to be wrestlers and having real matches, and they're not afraid to slap each other. Somehow I feel like Sasha and Charlotte still fuck that up with each other and still like are afraid to like go at each other. Somehow, everyone else has figured it out. Yeah, it's great. Like everyone's having great matches. The women's division is now just another division, and it's great. I love it. The tag division sucks, but everything else is great.
Yeah. I do. Maybe I guess I do think of it now. I would have been happier if Rhea Ripley would have beat Charlotte, because that would have had the story. Because Rhea did get screwed up. Because you mentioned that Bianca got her moment.
Yeah.
It should have been Rhea's last year against Charlotte, but they couldn't let Charlotte win. So this year Rhea got her moment, but against the wrong person.
Yeah.
So, and that's some fantasy booking on my part, but
I agree.
Otherwise, everything you said, correct. Yeah.
The only
the
thing that
or the tag team ones.
The only thing I'd say is it doesn't work with the Charlotte plan is that fans were ready to boo Charlotte being there, just like they were ready to boo her the moment she comes back, and
Nerds.
it just would have. They didn't want the last year's match to happen, and in fairness, they were right in that Charlotte got the victory. But if that was the finish, if Rhea gets the win, then yeah, that's the best match, and I don't think Vince was going to give it to Rhea last year if the fans had at least played ball. Like I think it factored in that it's like, oh yeah, she's not as big of a deal because the fans soured on a match with Charlotte Flair. That's the way Vince views it. And that would have happened again this year. And Rhea didn't need that, even though that is the match. And hopefully that's what they build up to at SummerSlam. Eventually Charlotte comes out, she does her yelling, which wasn't much different than all the other promos she has cut. In fairness though, everything I'm going to say about her, I would say about Sasha, and a lot of people don't agree with me, but those promo skills, I got Wade in my corner. Charlotte, every time they give her a chance to do what is like fourth wall breaking or this like, okay, I know I was doing a character Vince made me do, but now I'm telling you the truth. They can't produce it. It doesn't sound real. Sasha is just as horrible at it as Charlotte is. Like those two just can't do it. Becky has nailed it. Even Bayley, who was the worst on the mic, has at least figured out how to sound natural. It's naturally the clown, but she's pulling that character off. I haven't seen it from Sasha, even going into this match. They had a great match with Bianca, but in terms of the promo stuff, Sasha's been awful. Charlotte comes back, gets the chance, gets 10 minutes to cut her promo. She couldn't do it either. That has been the biggest hang up of those two for the longest time, is just been they can't cut that promo where they are themselves. They are strong. They get me excited for a match. Like they sound like they're doing a performance and not very well. And that's been holding those two back because they are, but I don't even think there's much of an argument. They're the two greatest women's wrestlers, at least in WWE history or in American professional wrestling. Like, it's Sasha and Charlotte, and that's considering I think their mic skills they're not quite trash. They're not much above it. Like, it's pretty bad considering how great they are with the in-ring stuff.
I'd have to see if they would ever let them not do scripted promos. Like, honestly, some of the best promos all weekend was during the rain when they just let people talk for that 30 minutes. The rain was the MVP of the entire weekend. I do want to give, if for all the non-people who pay that close attention, shout out to, I don't remember which match, but Tyson Kidd was one of, I think it was the Sasha Bianca Belair, but they were the ones that like helped produce it and like put it together. Tyson Kidd, when it comes to female wrestling, knows what he's doing. And
then why is Natalia not good?
because she's the wife and he has to listen to her.
Good
But
save.
yeah, I think it was that one, but he produced one, if not both of them, and does a lot of them, and the match themselves are great. But I think, yeah, it's for me, it comes down to the scripted promos or what bullshit. Because like NXT, they really don't. They literally teach them how to make shit up on their own, and then they get to the main roster and they're like, here's what you say. And it's like,
Yeah.
then why did I spend 3 years learning improv?
So I guess that's the one thing. I'm 90% sure that Charlotte promo on Monday, that was not scripted. That was like bullet points. Charlotte, go do it. And maybe in this, we can blame the lack of improvement on Mike's stuff on the fact that she's been doing scripted promos all her time on the main brand. Sasha, similar. I'm 90% sure that over the last 2 years, she's been given that leeway to go out and do it, but it's the same song and dance. She can't get past it. And I think I've seen it with like Bianca being out there. Like Bianca can nail a promo that even though the lead-in with Sasha was not good, it was a bad story, but Bianca nailed it. And Sasha's right beside her failing, And that's the thing I'm most concerned with Sasha. I would like to see what it looks like when it is unscripted, but they all are playing within the same rules, Sasha's the one who's failing on that, even with people that are brought up from NXT and they're being put out there for the first time. And, Rhea had a little bit when she started, she just kind of seemed she's the most confident person on NXT. And then her first time on the main brand, there's confidence missing in the first promo. And you're like, oh, that's a little scary, but she figures it out. And I still don't know how great her promo skills are, but she's herself and she's confident. Sasha, that's not her. That's not the character she pulled off on NXT. She's just bad. She is some bad robot of what Vince wants. And so is Charlotte. And so the top 2 stars who can just go so well in the ring. Like, it's amazing what they can do and how much they can bring up other people. They just, on the mic, it seems fake the whole time. And I don't think, I think maybe the unscripted would help, but I don't know how much. I just don't think they're that good at it. I think if anything, they need to, maybe it's unscripted, but they need to be reined in. They need to be the type of characters where they say much less on the mic and they show you with their actions. And that's easier with Charlotte. She should have just done that from the get-go because she's a giant compared to the rest of them. A little bit harder with Sasha as the smaller wrestler who can go in the ring, but they've done it with other people. Like, just, one of her heroes is, Eddie Guerrero, and there's like, you got freaking Rey Mysterio is this like luchador that like can do all these fancy moves. If Sasha's going to be that 5-star work rate, take it from Rey. Rey was never great on the mic, and he still became this super baby face in WWE. There are ways to do it without being great on the mic. They're putting her out there for too long, and it's taking away from those great matches. In this case, the Sasha Bianca face-off was so good, it didn't matter how much they screwed it up and how much Sasha didn't do well leading into it. But I think there are other matches where that has hurt them. It's made me not care about any Sasha Bayley match over the last 2 years because those promos were trash.
Right. I don't know whose point you proved, but like
my own point.
I agree. Like, yeah, I was like, we'll never know. That's, I think, the sad part. Because if anything, Vince is so happy because they follow the script of what he gives them that they're just going to keep getting pushed because they follow the script better than everybody else who actually tries to put a different emphasis on a different syllable. Like,
actually sounds like one of the better ways to understand what's happened on WWE television. So thank you. You've now cleared things up a little bit more. It is the point system for nailing the promo right, even with the promo stuff. I didn't think about that. The match I want to hit definitely before Wade's phone dies, or actually there's 2, and I'll let Wade pick which one he wants to talk about.
All right.
Do you want to talk about Bad Bunny, or do you want to talk about The Fiend?
Okay, so how the fuck are you just gonna have the Fiend no sell all Randy Orton's moves and then just get beat by an RKO? Just a single RKO, not even a punt kick, nothing, just one. But he's gonna no sell everything before that. What the fuck happened at the end with Alexa Bliss's oozing head That just made him stop. He's just going to stop and stare at her, take an RKO, and just get pinned. Like that's the finish, and no one knows why. It's not even addressed at Monday Night Raw.
I think it was Alexa Bliss took his powers away. What's not addressed is why she decided at that moment to turn on the Fiend.
Which is be wildin'. That's why.
The witch don't like her on Funhouse.
How do you reincarnate yourself, and your reincarnation is just you in what appears to be a more comfortable mask? All in all, like it's just like, oh, they gave him a little nose and his chin is longer. I bet that fits better. I bet it's not smushed all against his weird, already flattened face from all the bullshit they put him through. I can't believe it. Like, I can't believe. That's a bigger fuck you to the fans than anything else. Is just like, hey, remember when Randy Orton set this motherfucker on fire? Well, this dude still ain't gonna get his revenge because his dad did something to fuck Vince McMahon off in the 80s. He hates tax people, and he just thinks IRS is a real tax person. I don't know. He's old now, but whatever it has, like it's now cursed Bray Wyatt, and now they fired his brother. So
I was gonna bring that up.
Like all that bullshit, all of it to get like it's total fucking garbage. Like, how can you take a character that's just like at this point that they have fucked up time and time again, and somehow morons like us are still behind him? Like, just like one of these days they're gonna figure out he's the best fucking thing they have. Like, and then they put him on first. They put the fucking match on first. That's how you introduce night 2, is with some weird bullshit like that.
Yeah, while Kenzie's parents are over, and I'm like, hopefully nothing embarrassing comes on the television.
Oh my god, that was so funny.
No, just Satan. Just fucking pentagrams coming out of a Jack in the Box in the middle of everything, and this weird fucking little girl head's gonna start black oozing like Ultimate Warriors. And none of it made any sense. He's like, oh, has her head oozed before? No. Has she had some sort of weird power over him before? No, I don't believe so. Like, I thought he had the power over her. I thought that was the whole thing. He's hurting. He's healing. He's taking RKOs and winning and losing clean. Losing clean after no selling.
So I will say,
never lost.
Alexa Bliss has gained powers over the last few weeks because that's the last match with Randy Orton. The problem is nothing happened before that told us we were leading to this moment. Not even signs, nothing that makes us guess, because we're all literally sitting there massively confused.
Yeah.
And then they get to Raw and they do try to explain it away, but it never connects with anything we saw before it, other than these are characters that are so magical and do whatever they want. It's a lot of Deus Ex Machina. They're just finding any way to make the story keep going. And Bray Wyatt is so entertaining that he will come back and do a Firefly Funhouse, and he'll do a great promo that sucks us back in. And some dumb fans will try to start explaining it to us, but it never does actually make any sense. And the only real way to get this to work, I think Bray Wyatt needs to start making a graphic novel, so that everything's already explained before we get there. And it's not up to Vince to be like, well, we had this cool idea, but Vince cut it for time. Or Vince said, we can't do this. Do it like Walking Dead, like you're watching the show. And a few things are different. We'll blame it on Vince. But for the most part, this is where we're going. So you at least have this freaking roadmap to know where this damn thing is going. Maybe that is the solution to letting Bray Wyatt's genius make it to television, rather than us watching Bray Wyatt fix it in post.
Yeah. Fucking garbage, man.
Let me explain this. So when Bray came along, he was in the swamp. He was out in nature. And throughout the years, there's been struggles. He had sheep. They left, through slaughter. And now we finally get to the pinnacle that is Alexa Bliss covered in this black goo, and it's a metaphor for oil spilling and drilling. And what we're trying to do is stop big businesses from doing such wild, extreme things. And nope, you lost me. I don't know what the fuck that was. What was
had me
that?
And lost me. Had me and lost me.
The oil is ruining the
swamp. Where did she? How did? how did she get up there? But like there were fans in the audience. So what was did she like sneak into the box and then
Yeah,
go
she
up?
got into the box because she had to change. So she went into the
Yeah.
box, changed her
Which we never
hair,
saw.
did all that stuff, and then they rose her to the top, and she's on the top,
Yeah.
and the oil's
Why
coming
did
out.
it-
She's got the midsummer like hairpiece thing, which honestly, if you just want to tell me they're doing a midsummer gimmick, I'd probably be back in. But you have to throw somebody off a building. I know Shane already went off a steel cage, but find somebody else to throw off a giant building, and I'm back in.
Yeah, maybe they should have had Shane come out and just jump off of it.
Would have been pretty good.
Right,
Yeah, it was.
My phone's beeping at me. I'm gonna have to buzz
a
out.
complete
Sorry.
shit show.
Sorry.
I don't.
Made it all the way through, just in time to leave before we talk about how
Sorry.
well The Miz did at WrestleMania,
Yeah,
getting Bad
sorry.
Bunny over.
Hold on, I gotta cancel this thing off the screen. Hold
Wait, thanks
Okay.
for joining us, and we will have you on the next one, or not. I don't know if you plan on watching and being ready for Backlash
WrestleMania.
preview.
on. We will see.
WrestleMania Backlash. You got to get the name right. It's WrestleMania 3 Backlash.
All right,
It's
No,
the most.
I'm
see
headed
you later,
out.
Wade.
Shout out Dana Brooks Titty Meat.
So,
yeah, the nipple was out.
So, we will first just talk about Bad Bunny, The Miz. This was one that
Bunny.
I think a lot of people put that at it was right up there as top 3 matches, I would say, probably in terms of the fan reaction.
Oh.
They were very happy with it.
Yeah.
I was happy with it. I'm not going to put it up that high because I think there were a lot of other good matches that I enjoyed more. But, you know, when you're talking about expectations, when you're talking about what you expect from a celebrity that's put in there, you know, once you get past that bar that is like put on a decent match, know what you're doing, and then, you know, if you get hit, sell a move. In this case, Bad Bunny nailed it. He put the time in. They came up with a great strategy. I know a lot of praise is going to The Miz and Morrison. I'm not going to do that. If you want to do that, go for it. But they came in with a great strategy, and anytime a first-time performer hits a Canadian destroyer to the outside, even when they say a bunny destroyer, which makes no sense because he didn't destroy the bunny, he is the bunny. You could have made a hop reference. There was a lot of things you could have done with the Canadian destroyer, but if you pull that off, I'm in. And in this case, we talked about it. It was supposed to be a match that, it's going to show how great Damian Priest is. But no, Bad Bunny was the strongest worker in that match, and he looked great. That was very phenomenal. How'd you feel about that match? And if you want to give The Miz praise, I'll allow just a tiny bit of it. Go ahead.
Okay. I think in this similar way, I gave props to the New Day for Amos. It was the same way. Like, you have to have the dance partners who are willing to do it. And they were. And they should have been because they knew they weren't getting anything better that weekend. So to get the celebrity bump is, I think if you're not in a title picture, that should be where you be. So smart of Miz and Morrison to not have the egos. Yeah, I did find it weird when the announcers didn't know what a Canadian destroyer was. I know there were years they didn't have it, and then all of a sudden they let Rey Mysterio do it, and then they still didn't know what it was called. And I guess that's the one chance I give Booker T credit on commentary of halfway knowing what the fuck he was watching. But yeah, I would say Damian Priest didn't look bad, but it really was just the shock. I mean, this is twice in a row. I would say the Pat McAfee and NXT match, they are actually trying to make celebrities worth it, of bringing them in, and because there was years it was just, it's a name, and now it's you gotta do something. Logan Paul didn't do a whole lot, but at least he took a stunner. So
it's true. And he worked hard. He sold it. It was a little ridiculous, but he went for it.
Yeah. There was no Scott Hall, but he was there. Scott Hall's was a little more coordinated, but they really let him go. It's also just hard because even with him covered up, and I've seen pictures, like he's ripped. He's still just so much smaller than all of them. Like even Ray's buff for being short. Like that's the only hard part, but did everything the match was supposed to do while still being impressive. Like,
yeah,
like they got the people over, and now it's what do we do with Damian Priest? Do they know what to do? I don't know. And I don't know, kind of I'm not even mad at the commercial of Bad Bunny's tour. Like Triple H is like, go do your thing now. Leave us alone. We got what we wanted out of you. And now you're gonna have the biggest selling tour of the next 3 years. Congrats.
Yeah, I thought he was getting the Money in the Bank. I thought it was the makeup for taking out the Miz and the Miz cheating his way to get a Money in the Bank. That would have been fine with me. Yeah, no, it was crazy the amount of effort they put into it, how well planned it was. I'll give a little bit of credit to Miz and Morrison for making him look good. But in fairness, when they kicked Bad Bunny did what he was supposed to do. That sell job, even Pat McAfee's, he looked a little uncoordinated while selling. Like I bought into to Bad Bunny's like sell job when he got kicked in the chest, you know? So I got to give Bad Bunny a lot of credit, and then as little to none to Miz and Morrison. But in exciting news, Maurice is back, and that is the only time that the Miz has been worth anything on wrestling, because he's so much better when Maurice is in his corner. I don't feel like Morrison works for anything. If it does lead to this friction between Morrison and Maurice, and then eventually they break up and it's back to Miz with Maurice as his manager, that's good. That's the best case scenario. I think it still leads to matches I just don't care about, because I don't think the Miz does anything in the ring that's worth a damn, but still a better spot.
I guess I like the Miz more than you do. So I agree with everything but that. If anything, it would be, whether we care or not, a split match. Like all of a sudden, somehow Miz and Morrison have a breakup, have a match. Like I don't like. It's a filler, but also they can do stuff. I like Morrison's parkour shit, but like have him go to NXT, then he could be with his wife, and I think he would fit in NXT so much better. They do a lot more athletic stuff than the main roster. There's potential there, but it could be. I fantasy book too much, and I'm right. So what can you do?
Well, I don't know. I think, would we be happier not fantasy booking, knowing how often we don't get what we want? I don't know. Or knowing how, like, judging how bad the product is based on how much better it could be if somebody in charge actually would make those things happen. But for me, I think that match as a celebrity match, without a doubt, did more than you could expect from it. In terms of the other celebrity showing up, being the Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, you know, Logan Paul did what he's supposed to do. I feel like he wasn't part of the match, which was helpful, because those two actually put on another good match. Like, it wasn't very long, but Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, like, they know how to deliver a stiff work rate that, you know, in this case, I don't know how much it played into the characters that they were portraying, but it did enough. It didn't go against the story that they were telling. And yeah, it was good to see them get a little bit of a minute there. It also reminded me why it was extra weird when Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho faced off after this great build-in, and, you know, obviously getting Goldberg in the middle and taking the belt off Kevin Owens kind of took away from that match. But they were given a little bit of time, and I think Vince's reaction of it wasn't a good match was ridiculous. Like, he was like, it was the worst match ever, whatever the story was that came out of that. That's ridiculous. Yeah. But it was missing, like, the feeling like it deserved to be on that same level. And you see what was missing, which most of it was, even though Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho were getting on really well, they had that chemistry on the mic, the chemistry wasn't exactly there in the ring. They both had a great plan, and I think the match was decent enough. this was the type of match that if that happened after that type of story, that's a great WrestleMania match. Without the story, it was just a good couple minutes, and I'm glad they did as most with the time they had. And so good job for Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn giving us that, despite the lead in not being all that great. Although I did love the segment with the documentary and Logan Paul. I thought that was actually good, but the rest of the story didn't care all that much.
Like, if anything, out like an outside look, I'm kind of like, I wish they would have waited to have them wrestle again at WrestleMania with a bigger stipulation. I think like everybody knows their story at this point, that they can't just be throwing matches away. And this, the only non-throwaway was the extra Logan Paul thing. I don't know if they would ever give Sami Zayn the title anyways, but I don't know when they're going to give Kevin Owens the title. And I'm a huge Kevin Owens fan. I think he's great and better as a heel, but it needed I would say when they were in the Indies and even in NXT, which they were a main event in NXT, you can see they could build a story and make you give a shit. And here they gave you no story and did not let you give a shit. And we saw it at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
How many more times? I mean, like The Rock and Hogan, or The Rock and Austin did it 3 times, but they were at that level. These two are not that level, but like they didn't give it to them at WrestleMania 14, or like, you know, like at least. I mean, that would be I guess that would be the similar. If Austin, or if Kevin was Austin, he at least was in the title picture at 15 or 14, right? When did he wrestle Sean? What did he do at 15?
15. That would have been.
That was at 15.
Yeah, I think 14's Bret Hart. 15 is Sean.
What was 16? Was he hurt? Because it was 17 was their first one, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I could be
17,
wrong.
18, 19?
I don't know anymore.
I could be wrong, but I think I think people get my point. Like, Austin was kind of already there getting main event shit, but they would have wasted those two against each other a year or two in, or like early on. They got them to their pinnacle, and it was good when you knew that that's where it would end up.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely right. I think 13 Bret Hart, 14 HBK, 15, 17, 19 is Stone Cold Rock trilogy.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's my bad. My brain shut off there for a second.
No. I couldn't remember all of them.
Yeah, but you're drinking boxed wine. I'm sober right here. My brain lost all focus on where we're.
Well, and I had some at dinner too. Whee, I spilled.
So
anyways, keep going.
Yeah, I don't know what else to hit. We got most of it. I'll just say for the women's tag matches, I thought the Eliminator match, the first on Tag Team Turmoil, not good. It was just extremely sloppy. And then I do
not
think
even with the titty falling out.
Yeah, we're just talking about wrestling. Tag team match honestly wasn't that bad. It was interesting to see that Tamina was apparently the biggest face in the ring. But I thought the moves that they did, we got to see some strength from Nia Jax that didn't hurt anybody. I thought the Shayna Baszler choke out finish is fine. I think that was as good as it could be. I didn't have any expectation for it, and 14-minute match that wasn't bad. So best props I can give it.
Yeah. It kind of makes me wonder if it would have been smart, whether they knew it or not, give it to Tamina and Natty would have gone over well, and then finally ended the Shayna Nia And yeah, my opinion of their makeup still holds. They look terrible. I know I messaged all of us about it. I as much as the viewers don't know, I don't look like this all the time, and I can make them look a lot better than they did.
We'll get on the horn. We'll try to get you in there to help them out.
One good match, I think it might have been on Wade's thing, was the Cesaro Seth Rollins match.
That's true. Yeah, I will have to. I wish I would have asked Wade to go with his. I'll let you go yours. Mine's just, it didn't really stand out to me other than I did enjoy Cesaro finally getting to do the UFO. And then you tell a story about the swing. He finishes it with a swing. Good storytelling. I think otherwise, I saw a lot of praise, and this was not another one that nothing bad happened, but also nothing happened that made me really. I didn't walk away impressed other than the UFO move finally, which Cesaro had said for years he was holding off, wasn't going to do a WrestleMania, or at least not until he got a real match. And then this one, yeah, he finally got it busted out. So I love that. But otherwise, nothing really stood out for me. How did you feel about it? Because Wade put it high on his list. I assume you have it at least as a match you enjoyed, correct?
I did enjoy it. I think because I'm a mark enough to go like, why have we not given Cesaro anything in all these years? I would say, I made reference to it earlier, giving credit to the Reign. I enjoyed Seth Rollins's promo that first night. Was this on the first night or the second night? It was on the first night, right? I think it was.
First night was the weather delay, and yeah.
But that match was that night because it finished right when I got to the bar for my show. So I was able to watch it in the car on the way to Junction City. But that promo that Seth did during the Reign was all I needed. I was like, okay. He's like overconfident, in a super good mood because he thinks, oh, it's no big deal. And I think it was just a good work rate match. And then, yeah, had those extra little special moves that got it done. And I would say even with that build-up that was about the swing and everything, I just assumed Seth Rollins was going to win, even after the UFO and even after the swing. So honestly, I'm like, is Cesaro going to retire now? Like, I don't think he's going to go much bigger. Like, let's give him a swan song. It made me happy. I remember when I think it was after Elimination Chamber, I wanted Daniel Bryan versus Cesaro. This was just as good as I thought that would be. So I was happy. It just left me happy. Right, the face won. Everyone got their moves in. It was snug. There was near falls. No complaints.
Yeah,
3 to 4 stars.
No. Yeah, like I said, I don't have anything major to take away from it, so I don't feel the need to tell people they're wrong in enjoying it. But I think we can move on to NXT now. We probably should have done that earlier, but I'm a loudmouth. It takes me too long to get through everything. But I think for me, I want to start with Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole. I think that of all this, well, we'll go women's first. I think that's probably the most important just because it did lead into that, 3 women championship, just having them come to NXT and have that moment. And it also was just a really good match. This was one that, we talked about Raquel Gonzalez maybe being hot shotted a little bit, mostly because she was probably just filling in for Rhea Ripley as Rhea Ripley got moved out of the main brand to face Asuka. Yeah. But they made the match, it was so good. And I think by the end of it, if you weren't sure about the star power of Raquel Gonzalez, I think most people who watched that match left knowing that she could be at that level. I think going in, there were probably a lot of people who wouldn't have mentioned her in the same breath as Bianca Belair or Rhea Ripley. And without a doubt, you watch that match and it made sense that those 3 were together, holding up the belts together as the future of the women's division.
Yeah, absolutely. Like she definitely comes off as a woman monster, uh, which I think is just hard to do because WWE for so long has wanted the sexy Playboy women, and we finally broke out of that, but we haven't had a woman that's just bigger than everybody that doesn't look stupid when they fall down. And as somebody who supports Nia Jax, which is I know very rare, I know there's not a lot of people who do it. I am one, but at least Zala is there, and I can't help but be a little worried that she still might be a little green. It is Io Shirai, who's just she's one of those like we almost have to hunt and find a way to have her have a bad match at this point, especially in NXT, maybe in the main roster, which is where I'm assuming she's gonna go. It makes it exciting to go like look at the number of people that she can go against for a while. Eventually, when her and Dakota Kai go up against each other, it'll be great. Whether Dakota takes it or not, I don't care. But that's kind of where I thought that promo that she did on Tuesday was going to go until Rhea came out and then was like, oh, that would be a fun match. And then they were nice. And then Bianca, they're nice. But no, yeah. I mean, we talked about it with the main roster. It is exciting to see these women find themselves and be allowed to. I kind of they've had a lot of dominant women champions. I mean, Asuka did it for a long time, and then then it was Rhea next. I don't remember who was next, but then like Charlotte had it for a while.
Shayna Baszler had it for a long time.
Shayna had it for a long time, and then and then Io's had it for a long time. And not that I want a short match, but I kind of wanted to go back and forth for a minute. Like we need it to not seem like it's a one-woman show, but I can't see anybody taking off Gonzalez now. And then if she can continue her promos getting better, because she was a heel up till like 2 weeks ago, and all of a sudden we're like, well, we like you. You're big, and you did a good match. So
yeah, we'll see what she does. I don't think she has to be the face more than just kind of. You can give her the opportunity to revel in the moment, and then go back to being a bad guy. I think the more importantly than having that moment and having like it wasn't just that it was a good match. She was like the monster heel, but by the end was working as much as a baby face, big performer as you can when you're facing Io Shirai, which is weird because Io Shirai tried to do a heel gimmick and she couldn't do it because it was just too fun to watch her. Oh. And so, if anything, that's probably my biggest takeaway is that Raquel Gonzalez, by the end of the match, it went from starting to she had to be the heel, and she didn't just become face all of a sudden. But she was doing a lot of stuff in there that they usually reserve for you have to be the face. And for her to work that way and to work from behind and to make it where it didn't seem like, well, they don't know what they're doing. Like it seemed like it was supposed to happen. It was part of the match. It helped the match. That's a good sign because that's the type of storytelling that you can't predict somebody is going to be good at, even if they can do the rest of the work rate. And okay, how much is Io Shirai carrying her? Having that is something that's special. And I think I saw that with Rhea Ripley when she first started, when she was doing the Mae Young Classic. There were moments, and it was a little bit like HBK-esque of her like selling moves and making people look like $1 million that you're like, well, if you can do that, like you're going to be able to work any style, anyway, whatever position you're put in. And Raquel's already showing that. So if she can do that, I'm not scared for her. I also don't think that means she has to immediately become a face. I think that's fine if that's the direction they go because she earned it. But immediately just make her do something wicked over the next couple of weeks on NXT or feign it for like a month and immediately get to a pay-per-view where she has to put it on the line. It's against somebody that we're not sure who the face and the heel is and have her reestablish it, have her do something terrible in that match to get the victory. There's a lot of ways to make that work. So I find the duality to only be a benefit for her, and I hope to see where they go with that in the next few weeks. Anything else for that match before we jump to? I do, like I said, I wanted to hit Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole, and then we can figure out which ones are important and which ones to just say we don't care and finish up the podcast.
Okay. Yeah. Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole. Crazy. Too long. Crazy. Not mad. Yeah, I mean, they were like, hey, can you give us all the stunts? And they did, and I mean, yeah, it should have finished about 15 times, and they just kept going. I think the big one that they kept showing was the stage stunt, a la Taz and Bam Bam Bigelow. Or was theirs in the stage? I feel like it was in the stage. That's going old school. Can't remember if there's a stage or was theirs in the ring. The same idea, where somebody's in a chokehold and the other one falls through. How Adam kicked through the side of the stage to be like, I'm off of here. I'm gonna get you. So that was a bit new, but I'm excited that they picked Kyle O'Reilly to go over. I think it establishes him even more as a star, and I don't know. Maybe he could be the one to upset Karrion Kross, who looked even more like a monster. But I mean, if you like modern day brutality where they can't bleed, that's about as good as you could do.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I thought they did great. I thought, if anything, I wasn't as concerned with the time as I was that I just didn't think Kyle O'Reilly's like feigning the like build up to being brutal enough to take out his former friend. I feel like if there was anything that just didn't quite live up to the rest of they're such amazing performers, that was probably the one thing that felt a little forced and didn't quite fit into the match and work. Like, I know that's what they wanted to do from the get-go. It just fell a little flat for me. The rest of it, though, like, was so good it didn't matter. And yeah, I'm fine with it going 40 minutes. If every time it's like, well, that should have ended, I guess we're going to up the stakes just a little bit more. And they kept doing that. Very similar to like when Cole and Gargano did the, like, I guess it was 3 stages of hell, where the final one is like a cell with a bunch of shit. You're like, I'm okay with it as long as it is. It's like, okay, is there something left? Well, yeah, in this case, they kept finding a new fun thing to do. So I think that works. And yeah, I'm still not 100% sure if I'm going to buy into Kyle O'Reilly, his personality as this face, particularly if he's going to be the Johnny Gargano, in a matchup with Karrion Kross. But honestly, Johnny Gargano wasn't as great of the mic skills either. It was just what he did in the ring. And we know Kyle O'Reilly can deliver that. So we can probably get to the point where they build that match, and I'm fine with it. I guess that's a good transition to go to Karrion Kross and Finn Balor. I thought that, man, that's about as good as Karrion Kross can look without disproving Wade's theory of he's just another Impact guy. Like, I'm watching it, and the match itself, that's 5-star material. And I'm still watching Karrion Kross movements, his mannerisms, everything he does, and I'm still not sold that he's that guy. Finn Balor, on the other hand, we wanted to like compare it, and he's just an entrance, and I know you were right there. You were ready to agree with Wade on throwing Finn Balor into that match. I just don't, like, I feel like I probably agreed with that when Finn Balor is on the main roster. I feel like everything I've watched from Finn Balor in NXT, both first time and then returning, he can put on a lot of different matches. I don't think he's quite as good as AJ Styles or Johnny Gargano, or when we're putting that list of those work rate guys who can work with anybody. But he still is able to work with, in this case, if this is a match that you're putting as really high caliber, I'm putting that all on Finn Balor getting it there. And Karrion Kross, he did his job as the big monster, but I think that there's other guys that Finn Balor could make look as good as he made Karrion Kross look. That's my takeaway, and I'm still concerned what Karrion Kross looks like when he has to carry people who aren't as good as Finn Balor.
Yeah, I think for anyone who, and I guess I would probably fall into it, never watched Finn in New Japan. Like I almost like just started with, not on purpose, but like right when AJ started with the Bullet Club. Like it just, when I finally found that I had Access TV that had New Japan, I was like, oh, I get this shit for free. All right, great. Or not free because I was paying for it. But all the rumors of how good Finn was, and then he would bring out this demon character, which once he came to NXT, that was great. I think this is the first match where we got to see the supposed Prince Devitt guy. We saw what I'm assuming WWE signed up for. I thought he really, brought it, did it. Was this type, but still on the smaller side. I would say 95% of the match I enjoyed. I still feel Karrion Kross not having a finisher. Like, I get WWE wants to try and bring this MMA style in. I don't think they're doing it right yet. And Karrion just hitting him in the back of the head, yes, in real life that hurts. But give him a power bomb, give him a jackhammer, give him something where he brings him in the mat, ends it. Because
so I gotta ask real quick: are you against it being a submission? That's the only finisher he has. Or are you against this specific submission move as his finisher?
I'm definitely against. I don't know. I just
like with Shayna Baszler choking people out, or Asuka when she had her run, she was constantly beating people through that. And I don't even know what Asuka's other finisher was. I think it might just be the butt bump. But like with that, so when you watch those, are those finishers okay? And this one particularly, because I know Wade is just like, he just doesn't care about anybody doing a finisher, doing a submission.
I think when it comes to Asuka, she's smaller than everybody. When it comes to Shayna, she is promoted as this MMA background person. We have this 6'5", 250 guy doing what the little people do and doing what the MMA people do with no MMA background. You know what I mean? It's literally like, I mean, Big Show's the most like extreme, but it'd be if Big Show just was like, I'm just gonna start giving you guys lion tamers. I'm gonna give you the walls of Jericho because I can, and it would snap you in half. Like, no, you lift them up over your head and you drop them. I mean, his big punch was kind of stupid, but I think if you're that big and you have that athletic ability, give us something. Like, Brock Lesnar didn't have the Kimura lock until he had the MMA background to make it seem real. He had the F5 every time. So that's, I just, I'm not a big fan of Undertaker's Hell's Gate. Like, I felt like it was they only brought it in when he necessarily couldn't lift everybody up. And so it was safer to do it that way.
I think it's weird. I probably started hating the Hell's Gate in a similar way, but once it was like less about finishing matches, once it was already established that's his move, I loved it as this change of pace. Like somebody thinks they've got an Undertaker where they want him, and he's just laying there, puts him into the Hell's Gate, and they're like squirming, trying to get away. I did love those moments. Once it was established, it's fine. I didn't like it as an actual finisher.
I would say, if it seemed more of a surprise, which also is how Asuka gets into her what does she even call hers?
I think it's just an Oscar lock. I don't know.
Oscar lock. Yeah. But hers is so often a reversal. Even Shayna's, it's that like they're going for their finisher. I flip them with my feet and then I catch them. He hasn't.
There's something to Karrion Kross's being that he did it on purpose, not as a response, but as like, I've gotten to that stage where I'm putting you away. And it is very anticlimactic, which I guess in fairness, Shayna's end up being anticlimactic, but I thought it helped her as a heel. It was almost like we get this like high work rate. It's going really fast and she's facing one of your favorites and she put them to sleep slowly and it just sucked the juice out of the match. And I thought that was good for her character. In Karrion Kross's case, it just seems like you just shrug at it. You're just like, But for me, if he had a better submission, I might be fine with it. I don't think it's just the size that gets me. I think the move itself just doesn't do anything for me. But I don't know.
Right.
The rest of it, I think I need to see more from him. I've not. That was a really good match and did not dispel. I can't argue with Wade's opinion on him yet. So we'll see.
Right. I would. What I don't think it's WWE's idea, but if all of a sudden he did show up with one, I think we would love it more now. You know what I mean? Like if all of a sudden he hit a big move that finished stuff, we'd be like, yes. Like they just don't ever build up, and maybe he just needs to go to the main roster and do it that way. We are still bored, and the main. I guess everyone can watch NXT now. It's not like the old days where it was you had to pay for it. But sudden he pulled something out that was a lot more fun. I mean, like, why is he not doing a Claymore brogue kick? Like, he's that big. He's their size. Not that I want to see another
we have enough
kick to the face. But you get my point. Like, give us something that seems powerful.
Yeah, I mean, something's missing with the guy. And like I said, this match was good enough to kind of hide that, but I am still a little concerned. There's definitely one more match I want to hit, and if there's something else on the card that you want to still hit after, we'll do that. I want to talk Walter Tommaso Ciampa, because honestly, the fact that we got this far in, and that was maybe, I mean, if somebody told me it was the best match of all 4 nights of WWE pay-per-view programming this week, I couldn't argue with him. It was an immaculately told story. It was something that we knew going in. We were expecting Walter to chop the hell out of Tommaso Ciampa. And I think, honestly, there's a lot of times that they go to kind of this like wounded duck type in-ring storytelling that often just sucks. I don't think that you can't do that. It's kind of like the Karrion Kross being a big guy doing a submission. I'm not saying you can't, but if it's not good, don't do it. That's the type of in-ring story that can go wrong pretty quickly. It can look cheap. I saw somebody try to argue that because the chop to the table, the way the table broke, looked cheap, that took them out of the match. They made it as a negative. I'm like, shut the hell up. No, that was a great way to set that up. It got us. We got to watch between the two. Walter having the hurt arm, and he wouldn't go away from the move. He still would use that because that's how he wins matches. And then Tommaso Ciampa just trying to not get his neck broken. Between those two, there was the type of injuries, particularly with Ciampa's, I do believe he's hurt. It's like it's like Daniel Bryan, his leg twitching after a concerto, and you're like, I know he's selling me, I know he's working me, but this still is hard to watch. That's what happens with Ciampa doing any move that goes to his neck. And between those two, that was 100% so exciting. And then even with the finish, it's something that's deflating for the heel to win. But there's not a more perfect finish than him just going through with the chop anyways one last time because he's willing to take the pain and maybe break his arm because he's getting that belt. And that tells the story they've told the whole time, which is Ciampa has something left to live for, but Walter is the one who has everything to fight for. He's the one who's still going to do whatever it takes to win. And he did by chopping, just chopping the hell out of Ciampa. Perfect storytelling beginning to end. Love the match so much.
Yeah. I've watched so much interviews and backstory and pulling back the curtain like if you watch Stone Cold talk about, he has like 3 or 4 moves. That's all he had, especially by the end. Walter has 2 moves. It is a slap. Well, 3. I mean, he does some suplexes, but like he does the slap, and then he might jump off the top rope. And that's all you need. You just got to figure it out. I do a lot. I was drinking, and yeah, when he hit that table, I was like, "That's impressive." I don't know if I've ever seen somebody break the table, whether it was a gimmick or not. Like, I've seen them like lay it and snap it with like a body, but it sold me. It goes like, "Well, shit, now his hand hurts." Like, who hasn't hit a table or a wall and go, "Ow," and it didn't break, but it hurts.
Yeah.
So
they also sold it before that too. Like he got kicked in the hand, so it was like it was kind of hurting, and he was holding it, but then he still went for it, and because he missed, he screwed it up himself. Which you got the the tragedy of it, of him putting himself in that situation. So good.
Which again, Stone Cold, watch all his podcasts, listen to him, working over a body part, how it's lost on so much new stuff. Who had a body part hurt? Walter did, and he hurt it even more himself. But it's just like it just made so much sense. It is so much David versus Goliath. It is that's how you write the story. And just anytime they put Walter on there, it's just a good time. Like it's fun, and you don't know why, and it's kind of scary that he just looks like a Nazi.
I in fairness, that is probably as close as you can get to just making him a Nazi without it being overtly offensive. Like, I'm proud of them. I think the fact that they found that actual line is pretty crazy. But the other thing is Ciampa. Able to tell that story, and you talked about like that's the thing lost is working the body part, but to be able to work the body part in a match where they still put on that work rate, and to do a move like Ciampa going for like a dozen clotheslines to get Walter down, and he's just running the ropes, and like the whole thing, it had everything you could ask for, and for it to be like the 3rd match on the first night or something, 4th match,
something like that. Yeah.
to have that to deliver at that level, like that's some good stuff, and that's definitely one I want to make sure we talked about, because it's up there. And I think even Ethan brought it up, like the only problem was that it was for the UK title, and like you're just sitting there like Ciampa's not going to win the UK title and go defend it in the UK. That was probably the only thing that was actually negative. Like they probably should have just not done it for the belt, but it added to that story of what are you fighting for? And so they kind of had to do it, even if maybe for some of us smarkier fans, it kind of took away from like, well, we know Walter's winning.
Right. Well, and I like just Walter is not like traditional WWE look. Like Kevin Owens still covers up, and they make Keith Lee cover up. So like, just let a big dude, a dude that's bigger than you, beat you up, no matter how physically fit you are. That just like resonates in real life. Like I'm a fat dude. I'm not gonna beat anybody up, but I go, well, maybe I could. You know what I mean? Like,
do you feel similar when Chris Hero / whatever whatever his actual name is for WWE?
Oh no, Cassius Ono.
Yeah.
No,
because I don't
get
the name. Yeah, well, well, that was my point. Is I think some people put him into that camp, and it's like, man, just show all of it. Don't do the jersey tucked in. Like that just looks dumb. Go like Walter. Have the fat just rolling around and use that. Like you should tell people, this is how I'm strong. It's not muscle. It is just pure hoss, and that's what Walter brings to the table.
Colt Cabana wears the singlet. Like don't do a 2-piece singlet. That's not good. I will say, because you kind of brought it up that it was like the 3rd match, it was able to outdo that opener of Pete Dunne and Kushida. and I thought they had a great match. Like, and now Kushida's the cruiserweight champion, and I love Pete Dunne,
Yeah.
even though he looks like this is me being shady. He looks like somebody who had like gastric bypass where their head didn't get smaller, but the rest of their body did. I don't know. Like, he looked better chubby. Like, he's ripped now, but it doesn't look good. I feel like he got skinnier as he made muscle. Like, get Pete Dunne back to being thick. But I love Pete Dunne too. That like British strong style is so good. And I'm
He's
glad
very
it's here.
entertaining. It is good you bring up the head shrinking, because that leads to the last thing as we finish this off. Do have to give a shout out to mini Finn Balor, the Finn Balor bobblehead who ended up losing in the cruiserweight ladder match. Escobar throws him off and crushes him. But yeah, the low carb demon, or the low carb monster. Jordan Devlin, I'm going to give him a little bit of credit. He put on a good show and doesn't look like he's just like the Finn Balor nesting doll. But it is weird that Escobar gets the win and then immediately lose the belt to Kushida on the next episode of NXT. I'm fine with that. I don't know whether that's should be offensive to Escobar or whether it's just a big props to Kushida, or just as good. Good spoil. First night on NXT, you need something big to happen, and if it happens to be the cruiserweight belt immediately changing hands, then no, I think that works. But that was a really good match. That was very entertaining. I can't name anything else other than the final spot, which was Jordan Devlin getting thrown off, and you got to get props for that, for doing that. Even if you're getting a few fans in front of you, that's still on that same level of, I barely understand it if you have a packed crowd and you got the adrenaline of everybody cheering for you. When you're doing it in the pandemic world, kudos to you for being that dedicated to wrestling. You're willing to put yourself through that living hell. So good job, Jordan Devlin.
Yeah, they were like, well, we had this crazy match. We might as well get crazy because none of us are going to remember it next year. And I think, the fact that Escobar is his last name, right? The one who won? Yeah. The fact that, I mean, he had it a while. It's not like he just won it and had it for a day or a week. Like, he had it for a while. He had his little run. He had his little stories where his little crew was there, and then Kushida switching up the tights and the pants kind of just, it gave that, it was a season finale, and this is episode 1 of a new season. Worked. So I'm excited for everybody, and Kushida's been fun. He did have that he's had like little weird heel things from watching NXT, so I wouldn't be mad if he went that way, but I'm excited. We're on to the brand new season, 2021 wrestling.
Should be exciting. We talked about things in the open and didn't have time to jump to it, but I will ask you with the various releases. I already gave my pick, but who's the most exciting person that obviously it's never good to have somebody lose their job and to go through that uncertainty. But I know that in the wrestling world, we're looking at it from the perspective of, okay, you've been cut free from WWE. A lot of these guys still feel like they have a lot to prove and a lot to show, and they're going to go to somewhere in the Indies, go to New Japan, or we know the hot ticket in town, AEW. Of those, who do you most look forward to seeing their return to wrestling outside of WWE?
It's hard because I don't want everyone just to go to AEW, and I don't think they can. AEW has just built such a large roster similar to WWE has, where they just can't keep giving everybody a contract. If anything, and I'm probably the least, or the minority, I'm excited to see the Iconics back together. AEW, a women's tag team division. They've had people that could do it, and now you have a team that never should have been broken up, being able to go over there and push that women's division even farther and make it expand. I don't want AEW to become WWE, where they have 87 championships, and that's why every pay-per-view other than WrestleMania this year, which is still 8 hours long, but becomes super long, but give their women's a second opportunity. I think they just had a tag team tournament thing, and those people won what? I don't know. So I love Samoa Joe, of course. I think if he really wanted to leave a lasting impact, he would go to New Japan. Because I don't know if he ever went over there, but he could fuck some people up over there as long as he could not get hurt anymore. Beyond that, I think I saw Mojo, and then I don't remember anybody else.
It was Bo Dallas, Chelsea Green.
She's good. She should end up in Impact or AEW. I mean, any of the women should end up in one of those two, because they can make shit happen. Chelsea Green was in All In, AEW's
Sounds right.
I think she was in that. That's where I heard of her, and so all the women should go there. The guys can go wherever they want.
I don't know where WWE is going to shoot pool scenes anymore. I mean, they lost Zack Ryder, and then Chelsea Green is gone, and they can't ask her to use Zack Ryder's pool. So I don't know how they're going to make this happen.
Well, it's getting warmer, so I'm sure Vince's pool might be finally available. They just can't do it in his living room because his painting's there.
Yeah.
It'd be really obvious. They're like, why does Seth Rollins have a painting of Vince McMahon in his living room? Be like, because it's not his.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So for me, I'm most excited for Samoa Joe, and I think if there's people that you're picking who can, join the AEW roster, I think Samoa Joe is a perfectly great pick. Like I think that's somebody, right. Particularly if you've been trying to court CM Punk for the longest time. There is not much better of a dream match than we're going to make sure we get CM Punk and Samoa Joe. So I think that's probably a smart move. And I think the thing AEW is going to have to figure out at some point, it's not just about having so many people signed on. You do have to have fresh faces. You have to bring people in, and some of it has to be homegrown talent that you build up. But a lot of it is that, the same thing WWE's done for so long, and bring these indie guys to the, to NXT and then to the main brand and finding that flow. And how do you do that and not become the villain like WWE is? How do you keep the roster fresh? And I think a lot of it is just being smart enough to let them have contracts where they can go to New Japan when they want to. When maybe that is the main takeaway of Don Callis joining up with Kenny Omega and that connection with Impact. It's not that you're going to have that cross promotion with Impact, but it's letting guys go and have runs in Impact when they aren't getting runs in AEW, and make it where when you sign new guys, it's not just this hoarding of talent. And who knows? I feel like at least they will think of that. I don't think Vince is concerned all that much, and he's not concerned about the optics of dropping these guys a year after dropping them in the middle of a pandemic. So I think that it will be interesting to see if AEW can handle that a little bit better. But in terms of the guys leaving, go ahead. Sorry.
I think a big one that's going to definitely spread people out is if they finally do a trios championship. It is not an American thing, but so many of their tag teams have a third person. So many of their Ray Phoenix and like the Death Triangle, Ray Phoenix, Pac, and well, he's not Penta anymore, but all three of those guys are solo championship material. Go put them in you know what I mean? Like, unlike WWE, that's instead of having two people fight for one championship, you have six people fighting for something. Could really be a thing and be different, but yeah, they got to find something. They just, I feel like all the ones who aren't fighting for belts, it's hard to come up with a new story until all of a sudden they go back to the Attitude Area and somebody cheated on somebody. Nobody wants to watch that again. So, sorry.
I'd like them to add it in as a selective story. Don't make it over the top. Don't only fit ones where it makes sense with the characters. Don't think that you need to it's like, well, we got to have somebody do this soap opera storyline. Like, only use it when it's relevant. And wrestling
Miro
is our
again.
time. Hey, you got to do what you got to do. But I do like that Miro is finally being aggressive and starting to look like he's taking the turn back to what it should have been from the beginning, which is this is Rusev Unleashed. Miro is here in AEW to be everything that he wasn't allowed to be in WWE, and let him do that, because everything else they've done so far, it hasn't interested me. It hasn't, I want to see if Miro can be that main event champion that he was only allowed to kind of flirt with it as this monster heel in NXT and then face off with Roman. But the moment Roman beats him, what is he worth after that? I feel like Miro has enough charisma and enough in-ring skill to pull that off. And the fact that he goes to AEW and he's part of a very dumb gimmick in my mind seemed like it didn't make much sense considering everything he was trying to get away from in WWE. But what do I know?
Yeah. The only theory I heard was he came in mid-season and AEW's trying to do this records matter, so you can't all of a sudden have him come in and go for a championship when he hasn't even wrestled yet.
Except they did it with everybody else.
Yeah.
This is a long list of guys who got hot-shotted to the top.
Yeah.
But
so yeah, at this point, first things first, he should be the one to take the TNT title off. And then if anything, maybe he should be the first one to hold both titles.
It's not a bad idea.
If you want him to be that guy, and then the next scary thing, and I see it, I know other people mark out on it, but don't have another WWE guy have the title. Well, Miro is a WWE guy, but he wasn't. He was always an independent guy that got roped in. Yeah. And at least he wasn't a company guy. Dean Ambrose was in the Shield. They tried to push him. WWE tried to hold Miro down, and he still broke through. So he's a bit different, but
yeah. Well, also, I haven't understood this, and I don't want to make this last another 20 minutes, and it easily could, because it's a topic that I just go crazy. I don't think it makes sense to say, well, that's another WWE guy. One of the big appeals to AEW is that they are able to take these guys that, yes, every time you're successful pushing over a former WWE guy that was held down in WWE, you keep proving your point that Vince is out of touch, that Vince doesn't get it, that we can make this work. Look how much better we can do with the same talent. And that's literally what happened in the Attitude Era. Most of the guys who made WWF beat WCW were WCW guys. It wasn't the same as getting a Hulk Hogan. It was the undercard, and you took them. So if you're going to tell that story again, if that's the way that you start AEW, why would you be so scared of grabbing the WWE guys and saying, hey, this is what we can do with those guys that we know better than you, who works, and you underuse that talent. Now, would it be great to have your own homegrown guys and getting guys who were actually on the indies? Well, that's what Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and all these guys, they have titles and they've been in that title picture. I don't think there's a problem bringing in new guys that are, sitting up there top, particularly now that Kenny is the champion. Kenny gets to tell the story of, I'm the guy who never sold out. I'm here. I'm the champion. You're not better than me. And then it makes more sense. The only problem I had with sending another WWE guy was that Jon Moxley kept beating them. Jon Moxley, he's the one that gets to be the guy who was a company man and is, going off to this company. And yes, he still had that I was spurned, but he's the WWE guy. If you have those guys go up against Kenny, that makes a lot more sense than going up against Moxley.
Well, I think it was almost a reverse. Jericho was even kind of worse. You started with in WWE Hall of Famer. Now you're not that you're going down to the Kenny, but you're the other end of the pendulum. So yeah, I agree now that like you gotta keep it going, and keep switching it by all intents. TNT is now with the indie guy too, with Darby Allin, so that they can keep going. And then it's such a flip of the coin with me of, do we need to change it sooner so you can kind of have that lineage of like, well, this person was champion, this person was champion, this person champion. Otherwise, you have 3 champions of each. It's Jericho, Moxley, Kenny, and then it's Cody, Brody, and Darby. Like, I know it's only been 2 years, but
well,
either you need another title or you need maybe have somebody who you don't want to be champion, but like do that like surprise 1 week, next week we get it right back. Like you at least have like, hey, I was a champion for a week. I can hold on to that for 6 months and pretend I'm fighting for it.
I think the argument against that though is NXT, which when you look at their like champions, it's like there's very few like even guys that were underwhelming. I think like if I rattled off the 3 worst reigns of an NXT champion, it's Bobby Roode, maybe like Drew McIntyre just because he got hurt to lose it to Andrade,
maybe,
and then I'm
so Dallas.
In fairness, that's like a good run in terms of he did it for a while and it told a story.
Yeah.
But in terms of like bad runs, like
everybody moved on and did really well.
Yeah, they let them have long runs. They let them tell this long story, and they transitioned it really well. So if AEW does that, I think, eventually over time, it'll start to fill out. Like now the NXT over, the last, 6-7 years of it, it looks like a lot of champions. But originally, it was for a long time. It was like they have 5 total champions. And, that was good because it builds up the prestige of the belt. And the thing you have to do is be able to tell stories otherwise. And that's maybe where AEW hasn't been as successful. Is NXT has had 4, matches on each card, 4 that get 20 plus minutes. And while I used to think it was always just the matches that sold it, they at least were telling these stories that stood on their own without championships. Sometimes, 4 matches, it was still a men's championship, a women's championship, a tag, it's 3 or 4. But, they'd have 4 or 5 matches on a card. A couple matches didn't have it, and they stood on their own. AEW's had a much tougher time, even when the match work is there. It's not like they didn't put on a good match with it, but have had a much harder time making me care about whatever that 4th and 5th story is for their pay-per-view cards.
Yeah. I think because their roster is so big now is why, they need something else. I think a triples belt would be great because it would. Jurassic Express, SCU, even though they're about to break up, but if they would hurry up and get it, then SCU wouldn't have to break up with their own stipulation. There're just so many there that half their roster could be gone in a minute going for that belts. So I can't disagree with anything you said. They're missing something, but they're not doing anything wrong. So I'm still watching every Wednesday and gonna keep going, and maybe Sting will retire or something. I don't know. Let's surprise somebody.
And the top end of the card has been so good that it's made up for it.
Yeah.
And that allows the time to let them see what else can happen over time.
Yeah, at this point, I don't know if I like this this Bullet Club reunion thing. It seems so basic. Like, hey, we're these guys and we're just gonna act like we don't really care about you. And it's like, okay, but you're not Bullet Club where you would go just wreck the whole show and beat everybody up. It's like, okay, we're just keeping Kenny covered, and
I think
the Young Bucks don't even have who's like fighting for the tag championships.
I don't even know who has the tag championships right now, but
the Young Bucks. That's what I'm saying.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But at the very least, they've put together something. I was mostly talking about the Pinnacle and Inner Circle that have just sold
that is exciting.
So
blood and guts. Do that match finally.
I think that with that alone, they're keeping it exciting. I still have faith. I think this is the first time I've seen anything out of the Young Bucks I've cared about storyline wise in a while. While they haven't just run roughshod, this is the perfect time to do it. Like, let Inner Circle and the Pinnacle finish off what they're doing. Somebody gets one up on the other, and that's when they can come in and pick the pieces.
5-on-5.
Which is a very Bullet Club thing to pick the pieces. So give it time. I still think maybe it looks lackluster right now, but I still think it'll build into something good. I think they're doing great, and there's no reason to pick at it too much. Even the Miro thing, like, I don't think he's done terrible. I just think there was a great opportunity that was missed, and I want to see what it looks like when he is, put into a storyline that I care about. So AEW is doing great. They're now the only show on Wednesday nights. And we'll see if they can keep that momentum with that rating. We'll see. Like I said, it gets me excited because I think the closer they get to that Raw number, that SmackDown number, the more we'll start to see Vince at least try to do other things. It's just hard to imagine at this point with how often his decisions that are saying, we know you want a better product, and he's not connecting. He does. Well, it's not like he's not trying. He's failing. And that's probably even scarier, because does it just take getting to the point where that competition's so close? Now Vince is willing to say, okay, maybe my version of this isn't good enough. Maybe I turn to somebody who apparently doesn't work Tuesdays and might not be the booker for NXT anymore. If Triple H now has to spend all his time on Mondays and Fridays, maybe the reins are given up to Triple H, and maybe we'll see something different from the weekly product. But that's the ultimate
Bruce Pritchard.
And that's the ultimate sadness I can bring to myself, is just every day keep hoping that Triple H will one day get full control of the show. So that's how we'll end it, with optimism.
This last weekend has made me a wrestling fan all over again. Like, I think that's what it's supposed to do.
I'm ready to watch a couple more weeks of the weekly shows before I give up on it again. And that's all we can ask for as wrestling fans. That's all we have for this episode of the Make It a Mark Wrestling Show on the Tell Me More podcast. We promise, and I probably will be lying, but we will make it back for preview of Backlash. And we'll have picks this time. We will tell you who wins, because somehow that makes it less depressing when we get the outcomes that we know suck. If we predicted it and it gives us a point, it feels less depressing, kind of. That's what we'll do for the next one. So tune in, be ready for it. We're excited to bring you some more wrestling. This should be a fun year, and that's all you guys ask for, right? Wrestling fans that are excited to hate it. That's it. That's all for this show. Later, Marks.